Good evening to the meeting of the Facilities Committee. Today is Tuesday, April 1st. And it's 6:34. We are at City Hall, County 205. On the agenda tonight, we have the first item, in person, we have Jess Perez, the chair, committee, Albert Benahan, committee member Andre Woodson is online. Board member Joseph Collins is in person. Board members Robert Traver online and Marissa Estromera Jimenez is online. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from March 5th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Benahan, seconded by me. I'll second it. Is there? All right. Any debate on that? All right. I will take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
That one passes. The next item is a special meeting from March 10th, 2025. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Benahan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Woodson. Debate on that one. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All, that one passes. Okay. All right, the first item on the agenda after the minutes was the facility master plan. It's gonna be,
Evening, everyone. So it's gonna be a brief update on our facilities master plan where, we had a meeting last week with the city council. We gave a presentation, along with our consultants and planning and Studio J. Same presentation we've done in the past, with the presentation of the facilities master plan itself, along with the recommendations. Last night, we had our first community meeting. Unfortunately, there wasn't much attendance. I think we had maybe a handful of parents and community members. Were hopeful that tomorrow's meeting over at Central will be better attended. And then we have our final meeting at Bassick on Thursday. Those meetings will start at 6 p.m. in the evening. So that's where we're at the facilities master plan currently. Any questions?
is there any questions? Any board, committee first, committee members?
No.
Woodson? So Mr. Sakalovic.
No questions at this time.
Well, I heard at the presentation that we said we're going out to this year for the bonding.
Potential.
Potential.
Potential. So
Yeah.
city council has hearings coming up.
And as far as us filling out the application, we saw when we voted to merge BMA and Basket, we got locked into that. We could not change it. If you're intending to go before the state and ask for money, saying the board is going to merge these schools, you will be basically locking the board's hand, tying the board's hands and making the decision for us. So I think we need to put a pause until we actually review and actually debate and modify this master plan to the board's liking, because right now it's just a proposal. We're proposing consolidating schools. We're proposing, there's nothing actually that's locked in. And as you see, and when I think about the past in BMA right now, and its potential demise in the future, by the way it's set up, is a backdoor way of closing the school without going through a process. And I'm very concerned about that we have not approved this plan. We've got several issues with the plan, especially the demographics being all in one neighborhood. It's really, there's real discussion before we actually pull the trigger on anything that locks us into something. I'm not saying we don't need to contract. I'm saying we need to have an actual, not a proposed plan, an actual approved plan by the board into what we need to do for the next 10 years. Then there's other questions about some of the data, some people ask me about. The studies, I mean, we haven't really had much time, I just think here. As far as the capacity, of the schools. We got, which paper was it, planning capacity, we got, on this one, we got, some of the schools got pre-Ks that don't have pre-Ks, some of the schools have eliminations of classes. Don't exist on this thing. But the first question I want to ask is about the contained, how many empty classrooms, like for instance, you got the page for. Couple of the city councils had questions about this, and then once I can do it to 20%.
So these are enrollment questions.
More capacity. Now, let's take up Barnum, for example. Got, flexible classroom, 25 plus 4 is 29. You got 41 total full-size classes. So 5 self-contained and 3 pre-K would be 38. So we have how many empty, those extra classrooms, what are they? 8, 37. So we got 34 empty classrooms in that. Are those being utilized? Like we saw the staff using them?
In what schools?
Look at Barnum. Barnum.
That's a free reduced count. That's not. It's not a
This-
classroom.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was mine. I gave the wrong, here's mine. I gave him the wrong. Right. We're trying to understand that we don't understand.
Look at Barnum, for instance, it says total full-size classrooms, 41.
Yep, 41. Yeah.
25 in use.
Mhm.
4 flex classrooms, so it's 29. So 29 is used to determine capacity. Self-contained is 5, pre-K is 3. So you add that 29 to the 8 and you come up with 37 classes in use, correct? Well, if not,
Yeah, there, on another sheet, there was other, so there was some flex classrooms that were there. You have the flex classrooms here, I see that. There was also, was other on this. There was another sheet where there was other. You can come on to the next one. I'm looking at it.
Right, okay.
Come back
Yeah,
to see if I.
next thing is a couple of things here. High Horizons is listed as K through 8. Hooker is listed through K through 8. Madison's listed through K through 8. Is this the proposal to eliminate 3K in those
No.
buildings?
No.
So then, that is just one that they gave us?
Yeah, I think the grade levels on some of those that they gave us were incorrect. But the classroom walkthrough, so they have schematics of each school. And each school is associated with, what the classroom number is right now, what exists in that classroom. So is it a full size? Is it teacher A, teacher B, teacher C? The flex rooms are notated, the self-contained rooms. Now, obviously during the school year, they can change, but at the time of the study, those were the numbers that came on the study. If you're looking now, some of those rooms, like for instance, we have 2 new classrooms that not in the study that are in Columbus that we moved. There were two self-contained classrooms that we had just moved there. I don't know, Dr. A.V. George, do you remember when? It was probably about November, maybe, sometime in November, so, yeah. Well, let me try to get back to this.
And, as far as the pre-Ks not being included in the classroom, are they included in the student count?
Yeah, the student counts for us, it's often enrollment. So we have the enrollment counts, the Crystal reports enrollment, as well as a dashboard that's on the data management website that you can just go click on every day and drill through and see your race, ethnicity for the school, your gender, free reduced lunch, whatever you want. It is on the website and it's a live document, it's a Power BI document that you click and it drills down to allow you to see what's going on.
While I'm on, before we actually begin debating the document, I can see it corrected. So we share a significant amount, the city put a significant amount of money into this plan, it should be basically accurate.
Sure. So Joe, if you go to, I don't know if you have the document in front of you, but it's page 36 of, I don't think you have it, what was out last night. It's a schematic of each school. I can get those to you guys and put it in your hands. Basically a breakdown of each classroom, what's associated with that classroom, what grade levels are associated with that classroom, and not sure exactly in there, but it kind of looks like this, which is what is one of the, I don't know, one of the photos on it. We have this for every school. So
Yeah,
it's broken down.
That's the document I'm actually looking for.
Okay, yeah, so those I don't think were given out. The documents that were given out were the actual study,
Right.
the FCAs from Studio J and the financials from Studio J. Those were given out. But as far as the schematics, as far as the school goes in the classrooms and the colored codes, those weren't given out because we just received them back again from MP Planning, who took a breakdown of every single school and went ahead and marked them up so that we would know exactly how many classes we have. And besides walking through, the schematics were there as you were there on the walkthroughs to see. We're notating each classroom to make sure that it was properly notated when we're walking through.
Yes, let's see, okay.
So some of the loading, I can't answer everything, but I know on some of the loading, there were some questions. So one of the questions I can answer, and this may not come out, but this is what I asked the company. So if you have an ed spec of 750 students, okay, that educational spec at that time was the amount of students that they were going to give us money for to be able to open up that building. That's not to say it's the actual capacity. Just like anything else, if you have 10 classrooms and there's 10 self-contained rooms, those classrooms right now, instead of being 29 each, which would give you 190, those classrooms, you would have a max of 10 on there. So you would only have a max of 100, because there's 10 classrooms. So that max of 100 means your capacity in that school right now, you can't have extra 19 going into those 10 rooms. If it was a domino effect and they use 24 for everything, we do it a little different. We use 29 and 24 for K and 1 as a max. And then we would use 18 for pre-K. The way that MP Planning did it is they used 24 for everything. So that way, it was a standard class. If it was a full-size classroom, then they could use a standard capacity throughout, because it may not be a pre-K class. It may be today, but it may not be next week or a year from now. So they needed a standard number. So their numbers are going to fluctuate a little bit, different than what that ed spec says, which is the 750, how they come up with 810. because their numbers right now are looking a little bit different, and they have an 80% factor that they use on it. If you want me to get you the formula, I can get you the formula from them so you can understand it. But that's how they do their capacity. It's not just, I'm looking at the number and that doesn't make sense. Well, you're right. If you just looked at the number, it doesn't make sense. But once you see the mathematics behind it, then you say, I understand what they were doing, whether it's right, wrong, or different. That's how they did their capacity loads. And that's how the company broke down what the planning capacity was for each school.
Yeah, so sorry, there's so many questions. I'm trying to get to stuff before.
Yeah.
It gets to a critical stage and especially to put.
Yeah. And I can get you that. I have that. I can get you that.
Especially since we're looking to go to the state and don't want to lock us into anything. We got Beardsley is located 2 point something miles from the new potential site. So
Mhm.
potentially every single student that goes from Beardsley to Harding is going to need transportation. And there's another school, I can't remember which one, that's 1 mile and another one that's 0.7 miles. The 0.7 miles, some of the students will be able to go without transportation, but people that live 0.4 miles in the other direction,
Mhm.
they'll be qualified for fair transportation. We got to factor all those costs in to see if we actually will have a savings.
Sure.
And
I mean, like, all that-
before we lock ourselves into
Yeah.
any plan.
Yeah.
We've got to do this in a constructive way, and there's actual timelines. This is why we should be actually sitting in meetings, debating the plan and
Mhm.
refining the plan to something that's to the acceptability of 6 or 7 or 8 board members.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not gonna speak for MP planning, but I would say those are just recommendations, that's what I'm saying. So those recommendations, take it or leave it of what they are. They're recommendations by the company of what they recommended that we looked at. Now, if you decide to go in another direction as a board, whatever that direction is, we're gonna support wherever you decide that you wanna go. The key is, you have the plan, you're able to, make decisions based on that plan. If you like the plan, if you don't like the plan, if you have another idea for your plan, the reality is that's what they came up with and that's what we have in front of us right now. So yes, it is your job to take a look at it and say, these are some things I like about it. I don't like that. Can we do this? Can we do that? That's what the question is.
The main concern, I'll reiterate, is going to the state and promising something that's not really beyond the promise.
When you go to the state and you petition at a certain point, you have to have an idea of where you're going, right? So from a projection standpoint, you have to have an idea of who you want to put in the school, what the projections would look like from a grade level. I mean, you just can't build the school. You're absolutely right, and say, well, we want to build a school, right? So you have to have an idea in mind when you're doing it. And then they have to look at a whole bunch of other things, including projections of what it would look like for the next 8 or 10 years. And that's not something I can do. They don't accept any projections that I give.
Right.
They only accept from an outside source their projections on what they project.
Right. Again, when we projected the Harding and Bassett,
That's again,
Bassett and BMA merger, we found out it's not working and it's kind of too late to pull it all back. We've got to
Yeah.
somewhat stay within those
Yeah.
confines and have a presence of Bassett.
So just so
if
you
we
know,
go-
we don't do projections. I want to make that clear.
Right.
So they won't allow PJ's office to do projection, because I'm always gonna project to the way I see it, which is to make sure that we have enough space for children to go there. Just like Harding, every school that we've been building are under capacity right now. Talia, same thing. I mean, when you go down the line, but because the state only funds a certain amount.
Right.
So that certain amount that the state's funding, when they bring in their outside consultants or those people who are doing those projections, they have a number in mind that they want. We have a number in mind. If you ask George and I, we would, say, hey, we want to go here. But the reality is that the state's going to give us, based on what those companies that have come in, or that company that has come in and have done those projections. And if you ask me, they've been under projecting for the past X, Y, and Z projects.
Right, and that's another concern. We talk about always listening to the professionals, listening to the professionals. The professionals designed the demographic study around Harding High School, correct?
No, not necessarily.
The new Harding, who projected there was only gonna be a certain amount of children going to that school before we submitted the plan for the capacity?
You mean the new Harding? Oh, no, that was, so the state brought in their own company to do the projections, and that's how that worked.
Right,
out.
basically
Yeah.
professional actuarial or
Yeah.
whatever have you.
Yes.
And we could all see they missed the mark.
Yes. Yep.
Significant.
Yep.
So that's why it pays to question the professionals. That's all I got from that.
Mr. Draper?
Yeah, actually, if I recall the history correctly on Harding, Joe, Superintendent Vallis wanted it much smaller initially, and he actually had it being built for 200 or 300 less because he projected that he wanted them all to go to the Fairchild Wheeler campus. And it was only when they realized that the residents of this area were going to want to go to the building in this area that they had to redo the plans for the new Harding and make it bigger. And so in midstream, they had to change the plans for the new Harding and make it 1150, or what is it, 1150 it was built for? And so it was originally designed for 850, and they had to redo the plans to make it 1150. So that was a travesty on two levels. But that's not what I had my hand up for. But that's what you ended on. So I thought I would add that bit of history back then. I just wanted to make comment. I spoke with Dr. Avery this afternoon. The poor turnout yesterday was an unfortunate reflection, I think, of the holiday, the weather, and a few other things. But even Dr. Avery discovered what I discovered last week. There is absolutely no way for a member of the Bridgeport public school community to find out about the open forums on the website, which hopefully that was fixed this afternoon. But we want to really beat the bushes to make sure people know about the next two forums so that they can come and ask the questions they want to ask at these public forums about the plan that we're putting forth. And hopefully over the next 24 hours, we're really making sure the word gets out in the community about the meetings at Central and Bassick. I know that the word was there on the parent square and notices were sent to the parents, but the fact that they weren't in school yesterday, there was nobody talking about the meeting, and there was no reminding people at school about the meeting. So we didn't have the turnout we wanted. We really do want to encourage the turnout at school, but we also want to try and encourage the turnout in the community for the next two meetings so people can come and ask questions and hear each other's thoughts and questions at the meetings, which is what I was looking forward to last night and am looking forward to the next two nights. So that was my only comment tonight. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and Mr. Traver, you made a great point. I think while we have both companies there, I'm gonna second that, because any of those questions that
Yes,
we can't answer about the study with the company being there, both companies, they can get in a little bit more detail than we can at this point and explain those areas that you have those questions about.
the questions Mr. Skolovic's asking, the questions I know that Councilwoman Pereira wants to ask.
Yes,
I think that all of that stuff needs to get out in the open and have a full discussion in our community. And it was not, I looked for days at the end of last week, and Dr. Avery looked yesterday, today, and we looked at the site, and it's just, you can't go on the Bridgeport Public School website and see anything about the meetings. And it should be popping out at your face as soon as you get to the website. And I know people showed up last night at the meeting and were confused because we had the meeting at 5:30, we had a special meeting at 6:30, and it was just very confusing. So we just want to make sure that if you open up the Bridgeport Public School website, you see meeting about the the facilities master plan so that everybody knows. And I would even encourage a press release to make sure the public knows. We just want people to know, come on down and ask your questions and get them answered with those people there. Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're gonna work on making sure that's the first notice that you'll see, because it's on the website just under the other notices, so we have to make sure it's on top for this week. I
Yeah,
think.
we did it before. Remember when I raised the fact that the master plans, the summaries weren't available? The next day, I know you got them up there, PJ, you and Jeff, so that when you opened up the website, boom, they were there and people could look at them. And that's what we need to have happen is that boom, the notice is there and people see it. And hopefully we get a better turnout. Between that and the fact that school's open and, principals are reminding parents to come on down and ask your questions and find out about the plan.
And thank you, Mr. Chair, for clarifying that as well. One of the things that we did, we first posted up there, I had technology put like a little button that kind of blinked so you can just click on it. And they took it down for some odd reason. That's what I wanted up there to stay up there. As soon as you go to the website, it's there or it's scrolling where you click it. Somehow we need to go back to that.
Yeah, that's would be common, so I can.
Yes, if you can work with them on helping get that. So we'll make sure we'll work on that tonight. So we can,
Yeah, because people have lots of questions and they're good questions. So we want to make sure that we answer all the questions and we hear all the questions so that we're responsive.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Woodson?
I just wanted to mention that, not many people are online. I mean, I know majority of people are on their phones and stuff like that, but most people are better off finding out maybe with a note in their kid's book bag or something like that. And I doubt most people are online looking at the website. So, I mean, if you really, really want to get out the word, that hopefully the teachers or the principals could put some materials in the kids' book bags or something like that. I don't know. Just saying. Thanks.
We can do that as well, Ms. Wilson. I'll make sure I get that out to the campuses first thing in the morning.
See, I'm gonna ask a question. I don't know if you can answer me now, or maybe you can answer. I'm the other one. When you talk about your master plan and everything we're talking about, Joe say about Bassick High School, everything is talking about Bassick High School, New Bassick High School, New Bassick High School. And then something they come up, BMA. Everybody knows at the beginning for years I never agreed with school together. So part of the your master plan is everything about Bassick High School, because when you do build the committee, you know that we talk about Bassick High School. My last meeting, I asked the chair, Mr. Newton, turning into, and he said everything was Bassick. So I know they added this in the last moments last year, years back. It was the former superintendent before. I was the only board member, didn't agree with that. What's going on with this situation about in BMA? In fact, because I know it's a process. It's like I'm selling to you this, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna buy it. I ask so many questions. What's going on with that? Because you guys know anything I post on my social media, you're gonna be ready to go crazy. And almost 99% of people that don't want the two schools together about a lot of things. A lot of things about safety, the amount of students, staff. Sometimes staff they don't want it, they don't agree. But sometimes they cannot speak too much because the situation. But parents is the most important. They are the one to blame about that. Because I know it's a lot. It's a lot of the process. I know that, if we can, let's see how many kids are supposed to be on the new Bassick 1,200?
1250.
1250. And let's give a sample amount is 1,400. What we're gonna do with the rest of the students. Students belong to that area. Students, they are happy to belong to the school. Because it's gonna make sense to put a student to another high school. Transportation, gonna cost more money. And we don't have for that. Other safety, I don't see if something come out or talk with the parent. They don't talk with the student. They don't talk with the staff. It's a lot. And I don't want at the end of the day to make a decision, oh, this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna do. Okay, trust me. I would do a big revolution in Before Public School because I never agree with this. You know, it's a lot of questions and nobody can answer the questions. It's like I told you, you want to sell it to me, but I'm gonna show you I'm not gonna buy it. So I just want to know, it's gonna be in the part of the master plan or you want to answer that question, you know, like.
So I think, it was addressed to a certain extent in the master plan in the recommendations. There's still conversations with the state, I believe.
Yeah.
About the potential of those things. But every single day, we're having these conversations of different options for BMA and what we can and can't do. But, you know, I don't think we're there yet. And those conversations are still fluid. So if we can just sort of give this a bit of a pause, give us a little bit of time, I think we're gonna be able to better answer your questions over the next few weeks or couple of weeks, I'll say, because there really isn't much time. We gotta start making decisions. We need to come together as a community, as a board, as the school district, and start to have these conversations. I mean, you know, there's a lot going on right now. There's, you know, we're dealing with the budget, we're dealing with the master plan, we're dealing with a lot of different things going on at the same time. So if we can have a little bit of grace, a little bit of time, I think that we'll be able to start to better answer those questions for you in the near future.
I'm okay with that to answer my question, but I really don't want to answer the question when the decision's already done.
Yeah.
Because really, this is not coming for now. This is coming for a long time and asking this for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's always in the limbo. And we know that, we all know that the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and another one, they're trying to help BMA 100%. But if they're gonna be to school together, they really said they're not gonna do it. And I don't want that thing that BMA had that amazing opportunity to, you know, they lose this, you know. In the state, of course, they want this and they want that because they wanted the money and they, you know, whatever the state wants, you know, make decision. They don't care about what's going on about safety in the process. We're gonna have here before school. And I'm ready to go to the state and I'm ready to call some few people. I've been talking with some state rep over there. And they told me, let me know what day you're coming, you know, and we're ready to answer your questions. So before that, I would like, you know, not go over you, you know, go over either with Dr. Avery, nothing like that, and nobody. So try to see if we can answer that question as soon as possible. I know you have a lot of diversity. I really trust you. You do an amazing job in your team too, you know, but I don't want things to go out with the line. That's why.
And the way that Captain Lip has grown that program, you know, I mean, I think that's an inspirational thing. And I think that's part of the decision making over the next few weeks, if even weeks, to continue this conversation.
Yeah. I think, Albert, two things. The old Bassick to the new Bassick is about 1.5 miles away. So there is going to be some busing costs. And we did factor that in already because obviously it's 1.5 miles further in another direction. So for some students, there won't be busing. For other students, there may. We have been working with the GBT to get more buses along that line so that there's not just one bus coming up and back, that there's multiple buses that are going down so that we can bring more Bassick students on those buses down to the new campus at this point. So those are things I can say we have been working on to try to get at least a bus system at that point, getting those students to where they need to go and trying to minimize any cost that we can that's associated with doing that extra transporting of those students. So we've been in talks with We Transport to try to make sure that we can get the best deal that we can get to make sure that our children can get transported from point A to point B.
No, I really understand that and I appreciate that you do, Mr. Peter, but this is what's going on with the state. The state tell you this is what we have, this is what you're gonna do, this is why we're gonna give it to you. And then you guys had to deal with whatever the state give it to us.
Yeah.
And then after that, you guys even go to Dr. Avery, go to the board. But the state, they say, I really made the decision, this is what you have.
Mhm.
And then who's gonna deal with the rest of the stuff? Us.
Right.
And what's the most important thing? They always have it at the bottom. I never got the bottom. I always have it in the top. It's the parents. Because the parents you don't want going to speak. The parents are going to, so you don't want to always support my parents. So the state we're going to do this, but the state have to understand we have to deal with so many things. First part is the city the most, and connect the most we have in Connecticut. They know we have almost 20,000 students. So I know the state someday here, this is what you got. We want to do that. But I'm ready to make, that's what I said the last time. I'm ready to make noise.
So just for your, knowledge, the state technical assistance team is aware of the situation. We have made them aware of, immediately of what's going on.
Okay, no more questions.
Yes, sir.
So this is a question that, the council brought to me, about, the redistricting that we haven't done.
Mhm.
And I know last year there was a proposed, like a redistricting proposal that had to do with the previous,
Yeah, I can answer that.
closures.
Sure.
And so so can we come up with, can we see a redistricting plan if we were to, if those schools that are recommended close will close? Because, what Mr. Collins was saying is, some of these schools are, quite a distance to
Sure.
the proposed new building, knowing that not everybody who would, if Beardsley were to close, not everybody that goes to Beardsley would be going to this school. They can go to the schools in the district, around
Sure.
the district. So,
So it's fine, I could rectify that. So when Dr. Levy David, initially wanted to close the 6 schools, we had, redistricted, those 6 schools to be able to go and get redistricted to other schools so that those 6 buildings may be closed at that point. We do have the capability of, redistricting students and children. The one thing that we didn't do was, the board is going to guide us on where we need to go, and then we're going to support the board in that methodology of what do they want to do. To redistrict the whole city is not recommended by the team that we work with. So the 2 groups, Studio Jade and MP Plan. If you make a decision that you would like to see what it would look like based on a possible, as I said, a possible closing, or not even a closing, I want to see what it would look like if we evened out, school A, B, and C. We can do that. We can give you an initial look at what that may look like. My suggestion is that if you have those ideas that you want to set forth, give us a plan of certain ideas that you have so we can look at it. Obviously, to do every school and every sector is huge, and we're asking the company to do something again. But if you have areas and pockets of what you want to see, we can look at that and come back with what it would look like if we were to do this. This is what, this attendance zone or this area would look like based on the possible redistricting of that area.
yeah, and there's like, to that point, we have the schools that were recommended on the plan for closures. I think that would be, something we should look at.
Mhm.
Where they would go if this new school was built. And then on top of that, you got the schools with, that are on paper, the plan says, what is the wording?
Well utilized.
Overutilized or well utilized? Yeah, well utilized. But they're at 103% capacity.
Mhm.
And so like.
So remember those,
that-
those
And that-
capacities are not,
that-
not full
with the-
capacities, yeah.
the specialized programs, but if you have something like, Blackburn where they're at 103%, but you have Winthrop at 80.
Mhm.
Even if we drop the redistrict line, like, a few blocks, how much would that affect?
So, understood.
That's the thing
Yeah.
we could look at.
Understood. So I need to know some areas of what you're looking at, because again, if you're looking at, let's say the east side or the east end, and you're saying, we want to look at that. You're saying, I want to look at something on the south end, or I want to look at something at the north end. But we'd have to know whatever area that you're targeting or what you're looking at, we have to know exactly, where you need to go. So we can try to guide them and say, can we look at this area and get a better projection of what it would look like to move a boundary line here or there, so we can see what the model shows and predicts based on what we do with that movement of that line or that area.
And then, and with that transportation cost, we're if we did have to redistrict, you know, what would be the plan for those that are over a mile?
Yeah, and
That's,
that's something the board's gonna have to think about, because right now we have 1 mile. And just to put it out there, not to say, listen, I'm just putting it out there. Recommendations are maybe 1.25, maybe 1.5. The amount of cost you're gonna save from a busing perspective. Now, I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do. I'm saying that's a recommendation to look at and say, what would it be for 1.25 miles instead of 1 mile? How much would we save in an area of transportation? Because reality is transportation costs are high, however you look at it. I mean, our transportation costs are extremely high, because we're not just transporting regular public school students, we're transporting charter, we're transporting parochial, we're transporting all kinds of students at this point. So I think that's an area that we haven't really targeted, that you may want to look at to see if in doing this, plus the redistricting, if it makes sense to look at it from different perspective to see how much we may save.
And Jack, just to add to what PJ saying, the board has recommended, the superintendent's office to provide $30 million worth of cuts. So that's what we're doing right now, is working through those numbers in order to provide those options and things that we are going to be able to save that far away from the classroom as possible. So in the next week or so, we're going to have $30 million worth of cuts that we're going to be providing the board, and transportation pieces as part of that initial conversational plan that we're going to be providing the board for consideration. Again, a lot of these things are all things that we're going to have to consider, or the board's going to have to consider in their steps in trying to come up with a $30+ million savings. And so that's one of the things that we're going through those analysis right now. And it's a tough analysis to go through, but it's a very well thought out process that we're having to look at the cost savings of what we're going to have to do in these next decision-making opportunities that we're going to have. So again, we're digging deep into all the opportunities and options so that you as board can have really clean, perspective, and the estimate dollar amounts that's tagged to these things are just estimates. We don't know true dollars until we get into the work. The other piece of that with the redistricting for the entire district, we pay, the two third-party, companies that's working with us now in this facility plans. We pretty much cost them out. Any additional work that they're going to have to do is going to cost this district a little bit. That's part of the redistricting. If we look at that, there's going to be a cost associated to that. Don't know what that would be until we go back to ask them, what would it cost to do a redistricting of a portion of the district, all of the district, or part of the district, that kind of thing. So those are other options that we'll bring back to the board as well.
I think with the board would help. I'm just saying for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, that if we had ideas from the board, in other words, what your vision may be or may not be, what other areas that you feel that may not have been in the recommendation area, what is it that we can do to support Bridgeport Public School families and students and the board? And with knowing that, we can at least give you a look at some estimates or some other areas of where we may need to look at. And again, redistricting is one part of it right now. The other part of looking at redistricting again are all the other parameters that go inside of something district. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chamberlain, then you. Mr. Chamberlain?
Yeah, I wanted to agree with Mr. Woodson in the spirit of last night's discussion that the paper is worth it. So I wanted to reinforce that comment that he made about making sure you send something home in the book bags. And it's really hard for us, PJ, without knowing what the redistricting costs are gonna be and savings are gonna be. So, you know, that's part of the squeeze that we're in. We do need to see, and I assume this is gonna come to a finance committee meeting soon. The $30 million worth of savings cuts. I'm hoping that this comes to a finance committee meeting soon, because we don't have a board meeting until the end of the month. And the appropriations committee is gonna be meeting on April 25th. And so that's sort of our deadline for having some parameters for the direness, if you will, of our situation. So I think that we need to have that list, Dr. Avery, that you're talking about out there as to how dire our situation is. But it's really hard, PJ, to sort of compare situations when we haven't even had a chance to hear what the community thinks about the one idea that's been put out on the table. We're only beginning to hear that this week. And we need to hear what the community thinks of the plan that's been proffered and hear their feedback, and then begin to ingest what they think of it and where they think it ought to go, and then respond to their concerns. So we're sort of in between a rock and a hard place on that one, which is what I raised at the board meeting a few weeks ago. So we need to be flexible, and I heard George with regard to the time constraints, and we're trying to juggle all those things. The state legislature appropriations committee deadline, and the state legislature bonding, and all the city council. So it's a bunch of different things that all need to be pushed forward rapidly.
Yeah, and I think, Mr. Traver, for us, we're in the same boat as you are, because with guidance and working together, we may be able to solve some of this in a manner. We just have to know what direction we're going in. The recommendations are there. If there are any other recommendations that come across or come to us, we're gonna go in and break down those recommendations and give you a look at it, give you a copy of what you need to make effective decisions. We just have to know where it is that you want us to look. And I understand the public has to be part of it. I'm with you. I understand all that. But once that's done and we get that feedback, then we're going to need to know what areas do you want us to target? Where do you want us to go? So we can produce that and help with this plan, hopefully in a timely manner, so we can give you those other things that you need in front of you so we can make decisions.
I got it, but first we have to go to the public.
Understood.
Thank you.
Mr. Collins.
Yeah, a couple of things. I will start where I didn't mean to start, but I just want to address something Dr. Avery mentioned. It's not the board that's setting in $32 million in cuts. It's the law. We've got to balance the budget by law. The board does not want to make these cuts any more than staff and management does. This is a mandate by law. We must balance the budget by law. That's one thing. And the second thing is, as far as the cost of the master facilities plan, thus far it's being borne by the city. And when we initially developed and gave them their marching orders, part of their marching orders were develop a plan that does not have a disparate impact on one particular neighborhood or area. But what they brought back to us was not 3 schools closing in one area. They gave us a 4th school and took out another school from another side of town. Last time this city was redistricted, we redistrict every 10 years according to the census and everything for the voting rights and everything. But our children don't get redistricted. When's the last time we redistricted the whole entire city?
That's a long time ago.
Were you here?
Yeah, I was here, yeah. Yeah.
So it's been decades.
Mhm.
Decades. All the movement around the city. The schools at 100 and something by capacity. Schools that were considering closing because they're at 40, 50% capacity. Yet we haven't even considered a citywide redistricting.
I think there's some other parameters though, control transfers, mobility. I mean, when we start getting into that, do you know the mobility numbers? You know how many control transfers we do a year? When you start looking at some of that stuff, that why is the city the way it is? And I'll tell you, some of the families don't want to go to certain schools. So right away, they want to control transfer immediately because they just moved into a neighborhood and their neighbors are saying, you don't want to go to that school. You want to go. I don't know if you know how many parents call our office and say, no, we just got here. We don't want to go to that school. We were told that's not a good school. We got to go somewhere else. There are some things that we need to clean up internally first. And there are some policies and plans that we need to look at to make sure that we are supporting our schools. And again, for me, each school in Bridgeport Public Schools should be a school where every parent wants to go to. And when we start segregating and saying, well, that school on this side of town is better than that school on that side of town, and you don't want to go there because it's not this, then we have a problem. And we need to solve that.
Absolutely agree. And then the segregation brings me to my next point. We're segregating not once, but twice on the eastern quadrant.
Mhm.
One, with all the school consolidations getting boarded up and left for abandoned in the neighborhood. We're not calling them school closures. And then only considering increasing the class size in that very same area. Rather than have the four, even if the four boarded up buildings remain in that area. Rather than considering a whole redistricting of the city, so my neighborhood, a neighborhood on the north end, get a couple extra kids in the classroom. But we're not considering that. We're only hitting one part of town. That is inequitable, and that's not a plan I can ever support. And I think we heard a lot of rattlings out of, not just the city council that's sitting here, but some others have reached out as well. And they're giving us the 20%. You want to get that building built. We got to address that, because if we don't get the funding from the city, it's not going to get built either. I mean, talk about hitting one side of town disproportionately when everybody else walks away. We've got to spread them. Unfortunately, we got to spread the pain throughout. We can't have one group of people accept the pain just because they don't come out and lobby. It's just because they're not standing in front of us. Just because they got to work 2-3 jobs and they can't get out to the meetings like the people on my side of town. It's just not fair. It's just not fair. They're worrying about trying to find food, trying to worry about feeding their families. They're not worried about coming out to the board meetings until it's too late and they find out the kids are in class with 29 students and packed in. Wow. Parents will come out here and advocate. They could come out and advocate for a sports program to be saved. They could come out to advocate for this to be saved and that to be saved. And see their little faces and their tears in their eyes, and we say, oh, well, let's save them. But what about the people we do not see? What about the people who do not have a voice? This is who we got to consider when we're making our decisions.
Woodson?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I feel what Joe is saying, but I mean, when the side of town has been neglected for so long, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to another side of town and fix school, or you have to fix the most needed place, right? You got 2 schools at a combined age of over about 250 years. I mean, or yeah, about 90 and 135. How many years is that? 215, something like that. I don't know. But I mean, it's with that combined amount of years, I mean, I understand Joe's point, but we have to do what has to be done, and hopefully we make decisions based on what the data is recommending. We don't get personal feelings involved in our decisions. Because like I said, we have neglected this for so long. There's been other schools and other sides of town that skipped the order. No, I didn't hear Joe complaining. I don't remember Joe complaining when another side of town skipped the process of when they got their school redone. So, I mean, it goes both ways. The schools need to be done. The sooner we get them done, the sooner we get the kids back into the schools and in the neighborhood, and then the neighborhood can start thriving again as a community. We just need to stop delaying the process. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Jimenez? I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, and then Mr. Traver.
Good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to reiterate what Mr. Woodson was chatting about. When I read the facilities master plan, it was very evident from the report that one side of town was consistently neglected, and that was the east side. So I think in the interest of doing right by our fellow residents, that area needs to be addressed. How we do it is a different story. However, it's very evident from that report that something needs to happen there. Those are not good facilities for children to be going to school in. It's not suitable for teachers to be in. There's health and safety issues, so that needs to be resolved. Thank you.
Mr. Traver?
Yeah, and once again, I find myself agreeing here with Mr. Woodson and Ms. Esther Mara Jimenez. The narrative that Mr. Sakalovic is stating is a nice narrative, but the opposition that I've heard is we're going to build this monstrosity of 750 student school pre-K to 8, yet what we have in the North End is the 750 student school in Winthrop and an 1,200 student school in Blackham. And they're both good schools. I haven't taught at Blackham. I know Blackham's history, and Winthrop was always one of the gems of the white power structure in Bridgeport. And it remains so. It's being renovated for the second time. So what this plan is that's different than the plan last year is we're going to replace the schools in the East End. Let's be clear, it's the East End, not the East Side, with a brand new school. And that's what's different, is the plan is to replace and build us a new school in the East End in Mill Hill. And that's different. And so to present that to people as an alternative, we're not tearing down the schools, we're replacing them. And that's what the people I've talked to in this neighborhood find as an attractive. It's not universal, and I'm still waiting to hear. The jury's out, and we need to hear and talk to people. And I'm waiting anxiously to hear what people have to say. But I know people who say, oh, a new school in our neighborhood, that's great. So that's what people find attractive, is the thought of having a brand new school built in our neighborhood. So it's not, I don't think the picture is quite the way Mr. Sakalovic paints it. And it's important for us to get out and talk to the people in the neighborhood and see if the thought of having a brand new school built in our neighborhood is more attractive than renovating the old buildings in our neighborhood. And that's what we're out there meeting in the community about. Because I know people that love the idea of having a brand new building built at the old Harding site. And a 750 student pre-K to 8 building is not a horrible thing. Winthrop is 750, 762, according to the chart. And Blackham is 1,200 over the years. So I don't think that's a horrible thing. And I agree with what Ms. Esther Mara Jimenez just said. The East End has been neglected for years, and it's time it not be neglected. And that's what this facilities master plan says, is let's build something for this part of the city. We took off Bryant because Bryant never should have been on the plan to tear down. Bryant was renovated in the West End, and it wasn't well done, but it was renovated and it should be maintained. So I think this is not a bad plan from that point of view. It just remains to be seen if the people in the neighborhood support the idea of building this new school on the old Harding site. And that's what we're out to find out. Thank you.
Alright, seeing no further questions, we're gonna, we'll have the community forums tomorrow and, Thursday. So board members are going to attend those and really listen to our public on those. And, this is, again, a continuing conversation that.
Can you just make a quick point before?
Go ahead.
We can't give you direction until we have an action item on this thing because there's no direction yet until we have an action item. We're just basically talking in circles until it's made an action item. And the longer we take to make these things an action item, further it's gonna draw out, and then further we get to a time where we have to make a decision without thinking. And I don't want to get into that position again. I suggest we put this as an action item so Mr. Carafa can get the direction he's seeking to actually put something before us, because like they're sitting around having time to make decisions. We need that same time as well as the board. We don't need them to come at the last minute. Oh, we gotta make a date. The application period closes next week. If you don't get off the pot, you lose it. We want to be in that position. I'm tired of getting in that position. Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next item on agenda, basic decommissioning update.
So, basic decommission, obviously, as we're preparing for occupying the new facility, we want to make sure that there's care in the process and decommissioning the current basic. So we've created several committees to ensure that there's a smooth transition into the new building, that there's sign-offs at every level in terms of the activities needed to be able to decommission the building in a way where we understand our assets are properly valued and moved to where they need to be moved, whether it's in basic, to other facilities, into storage, what have you. So, we've created a decommissioning committee. Myself and Jamie co-chair this committee. Jamie will be going through the documentation of how we are ensuring that this doesn't turn into another Harding. And then Mike Zirkle will touch on how we're going to start the process of turning the building over to the city. So we'll start there. I'll close up with some details in terms of the conversation I've already had with OPED, and then when we anticipate turning the building back over. PJ also has had
Planning and
programming committees that are weekly. So we're taking a lot of care, spending the kind of time that's needed to ensure that we're decommissioning the building properly, and that we're ensuring that as we move into the new building, that things are smooth for the teachers, the students, day one of the new basic. So Jamie, if you can go through the documentation.
This first document is our task list that we created for closing a school. So there are different categories of tasks, from archival, building, technology, keys, environmental, finance. And each task has a department to perform the task, a department to assist with it, a coordinator, name, and a deadline. And then we will check off once it's completed. So about 2 months ago, we created these committees. We started organizing and planning on how we were going to effectively close BAPSIG. So far, in the last 4 weeks, we've had 25 truckloads of those moved from BAPSIG, either to be recycled or to other schools, not to the new BAPSIG yet, because it's not ready. So what's happening is we have a gentleman in our department, Daniel Woolley, who meets with each department head. He physically meets with them at the school. They do a walkthrough of things, items, books, supplies in their department with their teachers. And they literally go through every single item, identify it, label it, box it, and plan on where it's going to go next. So he's done that with a few department heads so far, including art, math, I believe he worked with science, the athletic director. We met with Lighthouse because they have a room there at Bassett. And we also notified the city of some of the items that need to be moved before moving on to the new school. Some of the items, if we go to the next sheet, which is this one, Bassett decommissioning. Oh, it's a different document.
Oh,
So some of the items are either labeled to be auctioned, recycled, moved to a different location, or moved to the new Bassett. While going through this process, since this is something new that we're doing, the documents we have are living documents. We're changing them constantly. We're adding notes. Every department head, both principals from BMA and Bassett, and our staff has access and shared drive that IT created for us for these documents. So if someone has a question, they want to edit it, it's live on there and we can see the edits and move forward without skipping a beat and waiting for the next meeting to move on with things. Everyone gets a space in the building. It seems to be going pretty well. We haven't had any complaints. We've actually had a few accolades on the process that's been moving so far. And it's only been 4 weeks. During April break, the plan is to bring in 3 40-yard dumpsters and start purging the items that have been labeled as to be recycled. And that way we won't disrupt programming during the school day. We found during this walkthrough, we had a few areas of concern, and those areas of concern are only concerns because of the amount of equipment or supplies or materials that are in those areas. And one of the biggest ones we joke about, but it's a heavy lift, it's the weight room. There are a lot of weights, and I don't believe they will be moving on to the new Bassett. And I don't know yet where we will be moving them, either to other schools or to be auctioned off.
Can I ask? The new basketball consumer will get new?
I
Yes.
believe so.
Oh,
Yep, there's a
That's
fitness
right.
center at the new Bassett,
That's right.
which will get all those equipment.
Right. A couple areas of concern, just because of the amount that will have to be either moved, recycled, or auctioned off, are the garage area and then records. Records is huge, but I think today, right before this meeting, we had a meeting and we put a plan together to start working with IT and everyone to work on the records. So we're not physically moving them.
Will be digitized, getting into the 21st century, which is good news. And as you see from the list on the screen, there's a lot of care in inventorying everything in every single classroom. I think that's an important factor. It's like that. We know how many desks, how many chairs. You know, it's helpful for the auctioneer to be able to understand this stuff, but also for us, because there's a couple different phases to that. There's the potential of auctioning, there's the potential to donate, and then whatever's left over, we need to dispose of. You know, because our intent is to turn over a broom clean building to the city.
No, I'm all set.
So can I ask about the work first, the board members are asked, but can we have a document, the document portal?
Absolutely.
Send that to us.
Um, You can have it, but it
a Word
literally
document.
changes every single
Okay, then,
day. So that's why I didn't share it, but
for the previous document, is also a working document?
All.
yes,
Oh.
they're both.
But we
fine.
give you those copies.
I think it's not
You only read.
Yeah.
Right, so you can keep up to date on exactly where we're at.
Let's say kind of go as they started. Yes.
And another thing is, you know, one of the things that I know when we think about the missteps with Harding is the historical pieces that were in Harding, right, that left behind. How is that? Are we keeping some of those pieces and how displaying them in the new Bassett?
So there is a plan, you know, through the leadership of Dr. Rayola and Amanda Litt, who have been tremendous to work with. There is action items in the document itself to capture that piece of it. You know, I think we've gone through every detail. It took us, Joe will tell you, this goes back a couple of years now. when we first started having conversations of making sure we had a document to capture all of this. He was part of the original committee when we started that. We took all of that information and actually got into this document. But you know, we haven't left anything to chance here, because we understand the gravity of what's happened in the past. And we also want to make sure that there's a return on investment for the residents here. They made an investment in the past, but that investment lives on. The historical stuff, we want to make sure we capture. That's a dual process. You know, that's part of that is going through construction and to do this document simultaneously in parallel, because those conversations are going on daily. So we're ensuring that these things will not be left to chance. If we could just go into Mike, or if there's any other questions on this part of the process.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, you want Mike to go first?
I do.
Okay, so, Alan,
No, let's finish, Mike, ready.
you have a question for Debbie?
I can wait.
Okay.
On the operational side is more, I'll step in when most of this work is wrapped up. And it'll be shutting down the equipment, securing equipment, draining boilers, plumbing systems, whatever is necessary, along with the city, so that we turn it over in a condition they expect or want it. And, you know, ensuring that the building is room clean and finding perhaps one or two items that maybe hasn't made our list. You know, this is, you know, it is an extensive list. We think we've covered everything, but, you know, something's always, I'm afraid, gonna pop up. And, you know, keeps the building safe as we can, and secure and ready to turn over to the city in whatever fashion, you know, they want.
Yeah.
So, you know, ready to be reopened if they want, or well, if they want that.
So Mike is ensuring that the mechanical systems are left in the best condition possible. You know, whether it's winterized, depending on the timing, we're ready to do all of that. You know, all of our teams are on alert for when Mike activates them for specifics. I've already met with the OPED team. We've given them environmental records, building records, everything, so they can start their process of what their thought process is for the future of that site. So they're ready. I'm not sure if they're going to be going to RFP anytime soon, but, you know, we feel that we'll be ready to turn over the building probably sometime, you know, second half of September is our goal. We want to get ahead of winter. We don't want to carry it into winter. We also understand that, you know, on the technology side, we want to have a handoff on that end too, with security, with the cameras, with, you know, everything else that is a cost, a recurring cost to the district. So we're taking that into account also. So we're trying to exit as gracefully as we can and as efficiently and economically as we possibly can when we exit Bassick, and ensure that the city has a building that, you know, they see that we care for.
Go ahead.
You know, guys, I love you for that. You guys are amazing and you do a good job. And you know, I'm not happy about these two schools together. First of all, I know you see they changed the information, what we don't have in our package, but I would love to have it. I know you say you change it, but I'd like to have it for the record. And I know you say Bassick and being made, Bassick and being made, Bassick and being made, and it's sad. It stressed me so bad. And I know we start this in the beginning for Bassick, and everything we talk is about Bassick. You're the first person right now that you say Bassick and being made. You are the first one, because every time we have a meeting, stuff like that, or the building committee, we talk about Bassick and Bassick and Bassick and Bassick. So I heard, listen to you just now, you say Bassick plus being made. You know, I'm telling you, you're the first one to say that. And I know you guys trying to do the best. And I know this for a year, they trying to put it together, but I'm not agreeing with that. And it's sad, you know, it stressed me out so bad that they want BMA so badly together with Bassick. When we can help out BMA, I know, and I really bring it to the table, and I'm telling you right now that I'm going to be working with parents and stuff like that, because, you know, I know some staff and I know principals. They would like to have, you know, like you said, Bassick and BMA the way it's supposed to be, that they cannot make decision. They're not making decision, say no, whatever, because I cannot speak. And I can speak for them, you know, I'm free to speak. But I really don't know, you know, but I know everything you understand and respect everything you guys said. I respect your job, but this is the way I feel. And second, I really walk with you guys, I believe, work with you, George, one day, and we take pictures. I still have the picture, what is good to bring it to the new Bassett High School, you know, what we can say, you know, stuff like that, you know, history, you know, stuff like that. That old Bassett have beautiful things, you know, they really take pictures, and I hope we can, you know, take it back to the new Bassett High School.
And we will archive some of those items, like, you know, the folks that have walked our facility understand that, you know, we see the value in the history of Bridgeport, the history of the Board of Education. You know, not every item can make it into the new facility, but, you know, we house a lot of those things in our warehouse, you know, because we understand the value, the history of Bridgeport. So in this instance, we'll do the same. And if there are items that don't make it into the new facility that really hold a special place for folks, we can house those in our.
So you have in your department a big belt.
We have the bell from Columbus.
Exactly, that's a history, that's something, you know, it's very, very.
We have just about all of the plaques.
Mhm.
And, you know, the first renderings that went into the building displayed throughout our facility. You know, it's part of who we are here, Bridgeport, you know.
But really, let's see what happens. One more question, I'll come, that's him.
Mr. Woodson, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to comment. I want to thank the guy. I thank the staff and everything. I appreciate their hard work. I could tell, you know, it takes a lot to just to get all the numbers together and all the information together. So I just want to tell them I appreciate the job they're doing. Keep up the good work.
Take that.
Mr. Sakala?
Well, like Underdale, I was about to do the same thing. We started, like I said, we started the journey together.
Yeah.
This sidetrack, but if you recall, we started the journey as creating a policy to go forward forever. Where's this document going to be living for future generations?
I think we're gonna have to create a new policy, a school closure policy. I think it's healthy for us to start looking at some of these policies and updating them. So I think this could probably be one of the first symbolic policy that we updated. As this will be a living document, and for every school moving forward, this will be the way that we decommission. I mean, when you think of the size of Bassett, I mean, you know, it's a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, and we're not just assigning things, we're ensuring that folks are signing off on what it is that they're responsible for. You know, and that we're taking those items that have value and moving them on to a place that can use them. You know, so and you know, as other pieces that as the state starts to contract a bit on what they're willing to reimburse you for, there's items that in the past we didn't have to move on to a new building that now we do. So, you know, the staff has done a tremendous job. I know that Tito Blanes and Sarah Jane Henry have worked hard. Those are two folks that Dan has said have really stepped up. The science department folks. I mean, you know, everyone's starting to feel the energy of a new building, but also wanted to make sure that we don't disgrace Bassett in any way, and that we do right by Bassett.
What's happening with the telescope in the observatory?
That's still one of those items that we'll be discussing into the future. We're not sure, you know, what will happen with the telescope. I think that's something that, you know, we should, as a board, as a district, start to have a greater conversation about.
And now there's an assumption I want to bring up that you automatically assumed that we're going to give that back to the city right away. Again, that's another board level decision that may possibly be able to be looked at for the master plan. I'm not sure in any way, shape, or form what happens with that, but the concern being that I don't know if anybody ever tracked down if there was a restricted covenant on the deed with the Bassett family that it's got to be used for an educational purpose.
Yeah, we couldn't find it. I know that I know construction services did try to, did a search. We haven't been able to come up with anything. Only reason I want to get out of it is because carrying costs are extravagant. You know, and our budget is not going to grow. And just for the record, you know, the operational costs for the new Bassett are going to be 50 times more than the current Bassett, because we're going from flicking switches to modulate heat to, you know, to intricate systems that will be doing that work. And central air is 10,000 a month.
20,000 a month.
20,000 a month. That, you know, so these are new costs. So not carrying that other cost is very important to us.
Right, but one of my concerns also is School property. Charter school jumping in there. How much would it cost us if they put 200-300 students in there? Yank that from our ECS.
I mean, that's a conversation with the city. I think, those are conversations that you guys need to have with leadership on the other side. Because at the end of the day, there is an effect to all of those things.
That's all.
Any questions online? I just said, this is more of like maybe a morale thing for maybe alumni of Bassett. I'm not sure if anyone knows Harding, but we know that folks of a certain age, alumni, who attended these schools they have a great sense of pride, right? And is there going to be, or could we possibly do some kind of
Closing ceremony.
pep rally or something for them, or
Yeah,
Final tour, final tours.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they looked up on Harding, but I know there's a lot of pride, when it comes to these schools. And
It's funny because I did a walkthrough with some ladies, alumni from Harding, in their 90s,
Mhm.
of the new Harding. So I think that's a great idea. It's something that we should definitely explore, a closing pep rally for,
and invite alumni from.
Yeah.
I know that, anybody who goes to Bassett or any of the older, any of the schools, they really have a sense of connection still. So if we can, maybe consider that,
absolutely.
and that could be, at the end of the school year, we don't want to disrupt the students and stuff like that, but
I was told there was going to be a plan for alumni to walk through the new Bassett. I only know that because my mom is 1969 graduate of Bassett High School, and she cannot wait to.
Yeah, if they could do, it's like
the
last pep rally, and then they, drive over to the school and take a walk through. It could be a whole.
I think that's a great idea, memorializing the history of the Board of Education. So we will start looking at how we can make something like that.
Won't work for you, but.
Listen, those are the things we love doing,
Yeah.
something outside of the norm, so.
Yeah.
All right. The committee then, or any other questions on this, and we'll move on? That's something we can, I think would be good. All right. And, the next item is the facilities monthly operational update. Let's focus on them.
So this comes from a meeting that we had all of our custodians in, about 2 weeks ago. And one of the items that they asked is if we had the ability to sort of update the board on some things that just happened, quickly, give you guys a little sense of what's going on in the school level. So we wanted to put this on the agenda moving forward, so we can give you the quick hits on some of the items that are going on, and some of the things that we've been working on. So this month, if we could bring up this sheet,
You want that first?
just this.
Handle it.
So we wanted to start the conversation about vandalism. So as you guys know, we have digitized the department, and we're continually starting to integrate more and more of what we do into a digital platform for ease of use and ease of management. And as we start to dwindle down the department to the level we are, these things become more and more important. But also the fact that, we've got to look at every single dollar expended. One of the areas that we constantly are dealing with is vandalism in schools. So we wanted to start to have this conversation. So we have some data for right around a year. So it's not trendable yet. But, as we move into the next season, we'll start to have some trend data and start to have a better understanding of what's going on in the school. But we do have a top 5. We do have the cost of repairs that go along with the different schools, and then how many man hours we're putting into this. So if you see, we've put 1,584 and a half hours into vandalism alone, and a cost of $33,000 in material. So as we start to get more and more of this data, this number is going to continue to grow, because there has been a tendency not to label it as vandalism. So now what we're doing, if our tradesmen go in and something's vandalism and it wasn't labeled as vandalism, they will change that work order. Labeled as vandalism, and photos are always taken, all of these instances.
Okay, what constitutes vandalism then?
Kicking ripping out a stall door, which is probably one of the number ones. That's a big deal we have. Bathrooms are one of those areas we get a ton of vandalism. People say that bathrooms are terrible. and then I go to the school, I dive in because, I want to ensure that, we're doing our piece. And a lot of times it's the vandalism that they're talking about. My son, my daughter, can't use the restroom because there's no doors. Well, I mean, what is that, $200 for an in-system for the composite doors?
The hinge alone is $200.
So if you can imagine when we're having multiple instances, in some instances in one facility, it's very costly. Now, the other piece to that is that there's a lead time, there's the ability to get that stuff in and then do the repair with 2 carpenters. So if you start to look at our efficiency levels, this really skews our department from being able to move the district forward. So we wanted to start to bring this to you guys as the first conversation. This will be something that, we'll be updating monthly for you guys, so you can get a sense of where our pinch points are. And you'll always have the top 5, and we're gonna make sure that we inform you on how many man hours and material costs. So we can start to have conversations with the schools to sort of hopefully address this. In the past, we had vandalism on the exterior buildings where graffiti, and, we had a campaign that addressed that, and we saved a tremendous amount of money. But now it's in the building, and it's really costing us a ton of time and money. So I want to give you a brief update on that, just because I felt it was important at this point as we're looking at dollars and cents. Any questions?
Mr. Woodson?
Yes, why isn't this being reported by the teachers and the principals?
The custodian puts the work order in, based on the need for work. We can generate invoices, which in the past when Marlene was there, Mike would generate an invoice and they would charge the school account in some instances. And in some instances, the principals would take that invoice and pass it on to the student. Do we collect it? Typically 9 out of 10 times we do not, but we've got to get back into that practice. I know that there's a lot of moving parts right now. We're sort of trying to settle some major issues out there, but we wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because we are looking internally at our budget to see where we're expending our dollars, and wherever we're expending dollars that don't make any sense and there's no return on that, we've got to address that. We're going to be bringing that to the board monthly.
Okay, one more question. Like if, I know when we went to the bathroom, everything is, you get hall passes, especially, I know in high school, everything is timed and, they can look at the passes and tell what time kids went to the bathroom and stuff like that. I mean, if this is reported right away, there's a way that we can isolate this stuff down so we can figure out if there's certain the same kids doing this over and over and over every time somebody fixes it.
Yeah, and the good thing is that in a lot of instances, they can utilize the camera system to identify who the culprit is. So in those instances in the past, principals will bring them in, they discipline them, and then in some instances, we provide the invoice and they pass that on to the parent. We've got to get back to that because when we're doing those kind of things, we're not having this level, but we're seeing an increase. So we wanted to bring it to the board's attention.
Yeah, I think the only way to, keep it in check is for somebody to actually get disciplined for it. So once they see somebody get disciplined for it, then, maybe the occurrence will go down because, you can't keep replacing doors and stuff, $200 hinges and stuff like that. That's a little ridiculous. I just hope that there's some type of system in place through I mean the custodians. I know the custodians there, but sometimes there's only 1 or 2 custodians in a building. The teachers are the one.
And that's one of the issues we're having is we have 1 custodian in just about every building now. When they're dealing with this kind of thing, they're not able to deal with the day-to-day, and then that's getting piled onto the night shift along with additional work. And that sort of segues into another bit of a conversation I want to have. We did an estimate on what our daily call out rate is, or whether it's vacation, sick time, personal, workers' comp. If we can just go on to this one, because they sort of play hand in hand, right? So with less staff on days, we're putting more work on the evenings. Now we're starting to dig into what the day-to-day looks like because we have to understand that trend. And right now, our average is about 10% down a day. So that's about 15 folks down a day. So we're going from the new 150 from the 160. And then the 10% average, right? We're down to about 135 a day. That is very difficult to manage a district. And then when we have these outside issues, it becomes almost unsurmountable. So we've all got to work together as a district to start to solve some of these issues. Now, let's take March. March is when most folks need to burn their time. We've had days where we had 28 and 30% of our staff out because folks have to burn their time. We've got a lot of staff members with 10 plus years, 4 weeks of vacation time. They don't take it all at the same time. Now you got to burn that time in March. That becomes a hardship for us. So if we're down 30% of our staff, I mean, we're just not getting things done. And the reason why we bring that is because you're gonna hear more and more complaints. We want you guys to understand why in some instances, the volume is gonna start to raise up on complaints because we just can't keep up with a lot of these day-to-day issues. So we're gonna do the best we can to make sure that we do everything that we can on a daily basis, but we are in a critical situation as a district, staffing wise. And then we look at our budget and we don't have the budget to be able to transform anything at this point. So we have to make sure that the dollars we're spending are spent in the most judicious way possible in order to have a fighting chance.
Two things. I'll start with the follow-ups. Is there, and the burning vacation time, is there like what's the system you have in place right now for folks to request time? Like, can they request the same week? Like, can some people request the same week off, or is there blocked?
What we're doing is we're denying in some instances.
Okay.
Now we're denying not just because there's more than one person in school. We're just denying based on the fact that we just don't have enough folks to operate the district. So now this is an additional compounding issue with folks that have earned their time.
Yeah.
And we have to tell them, unfortunately, due to the circumstance we're in, we're not gonna be able to grant you this time. So we're running into, some issues. Now, April is a new challenge that we're starting to see. So March we're burning up the time we have, but then we have some folks that have a tendency to burn it up front. So we're looking at the trends in April, and April's another one. We're going to be hitting above 10% in a lot of instances on a daily basis based on the fact that people have new time to use.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to make you guys aware of some of the challenges that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis, but we're digging in as deep as we possibly can to understand how we manage this district at the levels we are.
And then back to the vandalism piece. I don't know if you have it right there, Sam, or not.
It's the first.
I think the red schools was the top like 5 schools. Most of them were elementary, except for Fairchild Wheeler. This might be a conversation for building in each building, but is there, I know when I was in school, and even when I taught a little bit, you have teachers who bring their kids to the bathroom. There might be 1 or 2 where they have to go kind of random time, which is obvious, but for the most part, the class is going after lunch or before a special or whatever it is, and there's set times where obviously a teacher can be monitoring that. Do we know that if across these, at least the elementary schools, the middle schools, is that like something that's been an option? Like I said, obviously, if a kid has to go when it's not the time, they go, but I wonder if it's not consistent, if that can be something we can look at the building leadership to see if to cut down those costs.
Yeah, and I think that's, as we close off this school year and we get to the new school year, I think that's something that we're gonna tackle up front. And have a conversation with the principals at the beginning of the school year meetings about the need to start to do that. So for instance, last year Dunbar by far was double the top number that we're seeing here. We made some modifications, work with school administration. They've locked down bathrooms at specific times, and it sort of makes it a little more convenient for folks to be able to get into the bathrooms at random times. And we've seen a complete reduction. Dunbar is at $455 for us this year. That number was 20 times that number last year. So, when there's safeguards put in place, you can make a change.
Any other committee members? Mr. Woodson, and then we'll go to the non-committee members. Committee members.
I just want to say to Ms. Garcia, I said Mr. Garcia, I know our company went through the same thing. They wanted to lower overtime. So what they did, they kind of amended our contract so we could get money for like the money, for the time that we didn't use, we just got paid for at the end of the year. So, and that helped keep the overtime down because people wanted to, keep that little bank up that they had. So I was hoping that maybe if we could, get with the unions and kind of, if it's possible. I don't know what year it is. I know how long we negotiate it, or maybe it's just that dire that we could maybe get with them and amend the contract so we could make a adjustment so we could curb overtime. No, just a thought.
So currently within the contracts, different unions have different contractual language. For instance, the supervisor union can sell back 2 weeks, carry one over, and then all the other unions can sell one back and carry one over. The issue is that we have a lot of senior staff members that have more than 10 years. So you're talking in some instances 4 to 6 weeks worth of vacation. And that's where we start to get into the folks that come to work, understand that we're in a dire need of staff, and they'll come to work and then they say, oh wow, like I'm giving back several days. I know Mike's giving back a week. We just do this because we have to come to work. And then what happens is when you look at the end of the year, you're saying, wow, I've got all this time. We have encouraged folks to as reminders when we meet our head custodians that talk to your staff about taking time throughout the year to not sort of keep it off for one time. We do have one blackout week a year, and that is the 2 weeks before school to ensure that final push, we're able to complete all of the tasks to open up school. But, we try everything we can to get folks to utilize their time. But there is language currently.
But as a city, like we're like running a business and we're trying to keep overtime down. If we could give people, okay, even if we got to take away, like say if they lose a week, if they don't use it, say if we got to take that away just to keep people in work and not causing overtime, then that's what, that's a good idea to maybe pursue, because we got to start pursuing any option that we can to save money, right? So we get if we got to take that away to curb overtime, I think that should be a thought. But thank you.
Mr. Medina, just reflect you joined the meeting, and you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me turn my camera on. Sorry, respectfully. I do that. Thank you. Just George, on a policy perspective, I know the conversation going back and forth. I like that I wasn't here for the beginning, but I know we talked about the vandalism, one part of it, and I know you have spoken in answering questions about that. Families have been given kind of like those receipts and saying you're going to be held responsible and everything. On a policy perspective, I would love to sit down with you and see if we have anything in place right now to make sure that we have something to make sure that we can cover ourselves, the district, holding the families accountable if thing, but also in the check-in in those laboratories. I know we have the camera that you have mentioned. Is there like a sign-up sheet inside the laboratory, let's say? Like I know I see it in a lot of hospitals and a lot of elderly places where the janitor goes in, even at the mall, they have to, kind of like you sign in that I checked in at 10 o'clock and everything was okay.
Well, the one issue we have there is that in a lot of instances, there's only one staff member in the school. So, we've got breakfast duty, there's litter outside, there's the day-to-day, issues that they've got to handle, right? So it becomes very difficult for them to also police the bathrooms throughout the day. And that's one of the challenges that we're dealing with now. It drives me crazy when I hear that, someone has a complaint in the bathroom. In a lot of instances, as managers, we go out, just to assure people that we're doing everything that we can and sort of work with the staff if it's needed. But, we don't have the staff to be able to manage at that level where we're policing the bathrooms all day long. It's just an impossibility for us at this point.
Gotcha. And I think we can come up, again, through you and with you, come up with ideas, because I think even the staff could probably help and support something like that, that there's kind of like a check-in of somebody just going in just to have a check-in, and somebody can sign or initial that they checked in at this hour, because when we find vandalism, then we can identify like the time frame. At 10 o'clock to 11, there was a check-in, there was nothing, but at 11 o'clock check-in, for example, and just to brainstorm. I know we can come up with something to support, you know, your staff with the campus staff, with everybody overall. So I think we can come up with something, but I would look forward to speaking about that. And then on the other level, when you guys were speaking regarding the BASIC, I think it's a great idea that the board, Madam Chair, that we can talk about having that kind of like celebration, that moment with the community and those BASIC alumni to do that final walkthrough and even the walkthrough with the new building. I think that's a great idea to celebrate, and we can kind of like start that process moving forward with every event like this, to have that special moment and to find out what costs might be associated with it. But thank you, George, again, because I mean, you guys, your department has been a champion throughout the years after years after years, and matter of decades, that you guys have been a champion and giving back to the district in savings, and you guys been sharing it. So again, I want to say that. So thank you again, and we want to support you, but we got to come up with ideas. That way the load is not on you guys, especially with the cuts that you guys have to deal with, you as the leader of the team, but also your team overall. We want to make sure that we honor those that are staying right now, and honor those that have gone, that we're going to be looking to get those funding to get them back. Hopefully they're going to be one of those frontliners that we're going to want to get back in our district. But again, thank you very much, and I look forward to brainstorming with you guys. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Also, sorry, happy birthday, Mr. Medina. Enjoy your birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless.
We're going to Mr. Chamber, but maybe Mr. Chamber can answer this too, but to piggyback off of Mr. Medina, having other folks who are in different units having to check in on the bathroom. I'm not sure if that's allowable, but maybe you have that. Maybe you can clarify that, Mr. Chamber.
It's a never-ending battle.
Yeah.
I spent years, every time I'm going from one place of the school to another and I hear tittering in the bathroom, I stop and find middle school kids in an elementary bathroom and ask, what the heck are you doing in here? If it was a boys' bathroom, I could go in. If it was a girls' bathroom, I'm standing out in the hallway saying, come out, come out. I hear you in there, come out. I'm not going anywhere. It's like
more so like the vandalism, like actually like checking the bathrooms. I think
well, you can certainly
in terms
walk
of
in.
checking.
You got to be careful walking into a girl's bathroom unless you
So I think
it's
there's an
empty.
issue there.
So it's just that, I mean, the middle school kids are, I'm going to the library, I'm going to the nurse, and they end up in a bathroom meeting their friends. It's just a never ending battle to try and catch them, where they shouldn't be and direct them where they should be. So it's just that I'm just saying they take a pass and they use it for something else. So it's just that it's ongoing. And there are teachers who will spend the time and there are teachers who won't.
Before you ask your question, I just want to say maybe that's look at those that went down. We can maybe look at what their building insurance did, and we can probably consult them and see how we can use that. But Mr. Chamber, go ahead.
My question was exactly that point, that it's just you'll find some teachers who will do it and some teachers who won't. And I spend all my time, if I ran into some situation, I deal with it. But other teachers will just go about their business. And that's just the nature of what it is. You can certainly be checking on the bathrooms and you can certainly be checking on the business of the school. And there are those of us that do it and there are others that won't. And it's not, you can't require them to, but there will be some that will and won't. It's beyond our duty, but it's certainly part of our will. So it's worth looking at.
Dr. Avery, and then Mrs. Colvin.
I think the other part of that is the partnership between the campus principal and how they monitor their buildings and how they monitor having kids leave their classrooms throughout the day. We are looking at other ways to be able to support that at the campus level as well. Some of the campuses are utilizing what they call Smart Pass, where the teacher, when the kid leaves for the bathroom from a classroom, it kind of dictates who actually leaves and when they come back, when they leave. So there's some things that we should be able to support the campus principals and teachers in those buildings and monitoring that a little bit. And so as we start looking at other ways to be able to kind of combat that, that should be a good way of to supporting teachers and principals and working with the kids and making sure that we know who's in and out of those classrooms all throughout the day. So.
And this is by no way us putting blame on anyone,
Yeah.
but this is something that our debt custodians have brought to us, and we needed to make sure that the voice is heard.
Mr. Calder.
A few things. Let's start with just something that irked me a little bit. It's not a big deal. But you got dollars and cents. It's skewed. You can stay consistent and see the dollars and the dollars and the cents to the cents, because it looked like some, like some schools were like really out there because they had extra digits.
They did that for you.
We're trying to be as accurate as possible. We'll make that adjustment.
Appreciate that.
This was straight pulled from the system, how they reported on the bill.
How are we paying 200 for a hinge? Are we the Air Force?
That's what a hinge costs, because they're continuous hinges.
Stainless steel continuous hinge.
Yeah,
It has to be that by code.
that, no, that's
That's what-
the,
It's needed for the.
That's the replacement
Yeah.
for the fabric Sierra partitions that we use in all our new schools.
yeah, because it's the metal panels no longer are viable, with the rust and the germs and everything else. So it's a composite now.
And now I'm to the bottom. I heard something very disturbing. Heard it before. We've had the children come before us several times that they've only have one bathroom in the building open that they gotta load to. You spoke about walking the kids to the bathroom all at the same time. Now, all this is losing instruction time. All of this is putting restrictions on kids, treating them all in the same manner for the actions of a few, which is totally unfair. I mean, it kills me every time the kids come before us. You just had to go to the restroom just a moment ago.
Sure did.
Would you like to hear that you have to go down to the first floor to use the bathroom and come back up before you could come back to sit in your meeting? No, it would be unproductive time for you, it would be unproductive time for us. And if we force you to do so, we said that right now and put that rule in place for you, you would have no complaint, you would have a personnel complaint. Might also have
Can I make a point of clarification? I did not mean that the only time that these kids are going to the bathroom is when the teacher.
no, yeah.
When I grew up in school, I went to the bathroom as a class. When I taught, my class went to the bathroom at certain times of day. It did not lose significant instruction times built into the passing period. And if a child needs to go to the bathroom, I'm not saying you can't go because it's not 2:10 and that's when we go to the bathroom.
K-5 don't have passing periods.
You go
Same class,
You-
most of the day.
when you go to a special, everybody has special once a day.
Or
For lunch, that's passing. And so I'm not saying only one time a day you get to go to the bathroom, and if you have to go at a different time, you can't go.
Yeah.
They still have the option, but it might reduce if that's something that's practiced across the district. I'm not sure, I'm not in the schools, so I don't know if that's practiced across the district. I think Mr. Traver probably has the most experience with that, being 20 years in the district, and he probably has his own opinions on that, but I'll let you continue your topic and.
that wasn't directed at anybody, particularly because all last year, that's some of the complaints we heard from the parents and the students that their kids were being lined up waiting to go to the bathroom outside their classroom under the class administration. That became an issue as well. And that was something that was brought to us. And the high school students, they come and give us their reports that they're gonna go to the bathroom. In fact, in Central, and I'm just recently hearing something about Fairchild Wheeler. I'll address that on the next item. One bathroom downstairs, bath is open. Fairchild. They got 3 wings. So you're walking from the furthest point down to the bottom. And now they got this hall pass where students got to be back and forth within 10 minutes. They're being threatened with ISS. at least according to the survey results, about 4 or 5 students put on the survey that I just recently discovered by snooping on my son's phone. So,
I think it's,
imagine,
but
yeah, I don't, we don't need to, we.
I just think it's a bigger issue because I work directly with high schoolers and at Fairchild, at Central, at Harding. Some who don't even go to the bathroom throughout the whole day because of stuff that's happening in the bathroom. Not just vandalism. There's other stuff that we just brought before the board, with smoking. There's other things happening in the bathroom. Go ahead. Go ahead. I just want to clarify.
You can,
Yeah.
no.
I know you were taking a break.
I'm speaking
You were-
to the
you were talking.
students who
Something.
want to go to the bathroom, who want to be treated as human beings, who have to really urinate at this point in time, rather than walk across the whole campus, go to the bathroom where they can't avoid using the bathroom, being restricted to one restroom. That student that has to leave the classroom, perhaps a female student going through menses, that has to go all the way downstairs and take care of her hygiene. That has to walk all the way downstairs and then return in that time or face the threat of internal in-school suspension. Now, if this is true, if students are being threatened with in-school suspension for not returning to a bathroom through no fault of their own, but taking less than 10 minutes, because another student is vandalizing a bathroom, we got to keep every single bathroom closed. I don't even think it's legal. I think we should have our legal department look at the fact that, is it legal to close bathrooms in a school building? I believe we're supposed to, by law, we're supposed to have a certain amount of when we build these buildings, we build them according to a code that requires a certain amount of bathrooms, correct? So are we actually following the law by closing these bathrooms and not having them available to the students, having one bathroom available for basically 600-700 males, 600-700 females in the building? Is that even legal to code?
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Good stuff. Mr. Traver.
Yeah, I was just gonna respond to your point. It's common practice for an elementary school teacher to have bathroom breaks for the class. And you take your class out at a certain time and get them all to the bathroom and bring them back at the same time. And as you pointed out, when the child needs to go otherwise, let them go. And give them a pass to go to the bathroom. So that's for elementary. For middle school, it would be a different practice. So it doesn't interfere with learning time in the sense that you do it between, if you're switching over from math to language arts or some other subject, that's when you would take your break. It's just better organizational classroom management time. That's normal. It far preceded, Joe, the last administration. It's just easier to do and to manage your class and make sure that everybody behaves, that everybody gets a chance to go to the bathroom, and you can make sure they're not up to any mischief in the bathroom. But
All right, we're gonna move.
as you
Okay,
pointed
you have
out,
the-
you let them go if they raise their hand and say they need to go some other time. You're certainly not going to refuse them.
All right. Thank you. We're gonna move on to beautiful. Justin, wait. Go ahead. I'm just kidding.
I really understand the situation, what's going on with the bathroom, and it's sad that, just because one something they're not supposed to be doing, everybody has to be, paid. But I have the bathroom, closed like that for our students, I'm not good with it. I'm not gonna personally drink medication and I have to go to the bathroom sometimes. And as a parent and find out that I see my son didn't went to the bathroom because it's far away, because the bathroom is closed, and he get wet or something happened to him, I'm going after the Bridgeport Public School. As a parent.
We do not sanction.
No, I'm not saying, I'm saying, this is not.
That's a building issue.
I know, but I'm gonna say, as a parent, because I'm a parent before I think there, if something like that happen, I'm gonna find out why the reason. I understand it. We cannot be, have everybody's guilty because one student does something ridiculous, That's just what I say that for the record, because make sense, go to the bathroom like that. Because our students, that. You got some health issues. They have some health. You see, sometimes if I say that because I had to go to the bathroom, Mr. Johnson, like you just said, got a bathroom, many the student had to go. And sometimes I know that they say, no, you're not going because, you know, but we can, like I said, we cannot point because that student made something wrong. Doesn't mean all students are the same. We cannot. So they have to have a solution. They have to do something to be sure, you know, everybody be the same page. Just want to say that for the record. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think we could just go back to like, saying what the building are doing for best practices. All right, so discussion of possible action to go more on the rapid system. That's the next item.
Madam Chair, I have Jeff here from technology, who's going to give us a quick little overview. He has a short little video he wants to share. This is the alert system. And this is the only portion of the Rapture system that we're going to be visiting tonight. So I'm going to let him give me the history of that and then share with the committee the video of the alert system and what it does. And so we could have some clarity moving forward. Yeah.
Certainly. Does everybody have the one page
Yeah.
queued up? And you have the video queued up? Okay. Oh, no, not yet. I just want to make sure you have it ready to go.
We, in person, we do have a one-page handout. I'm not sure if it's online yet, but it'll be put in the portal tonight if we don't have it online yet. It's on,
Yeah, I think so.
it's in there, forget it.
Not the video, but the paper.
The picture,
Not the video.
the paper.
Okay, so Raptor is comprised of a whole bunch of different modules. The module that Dr. Avery has heard me talking about this evening is what is known as the alert module. The alert module is an industry standard and is honestly one of the best ones there is out there that essentially allows a faculty or staff member within a building to have the ability to report some sort of emergency or have the ability to, to lock down. And if you can, real quick, give a handout in front of you. Okay. If you look on the handout, you'll notice that the app is very simple. What they designed it to do is to basically be available in a moment's notice and usable on a faculty device. Now, they do have the ability to use it, obviously, again, on any device owned by the district, and they also potentially have the ability to install this on their personal phone as well. While that's not required, that's something that's available. Now we're in the beginning stages of looking, to do this. So, those types of things can be up for discussion. Now, this system would be able to integrate with PowerSchool, which means that it would have the ability to receive like the class rostering information and things of that nature. It relates to, location and things like that. Now, what we wanted to do is just kind of show a quick video that Raptor provides, kind of giving a super brief overview of the system, and then take questions afterwards. That's it. Hello, Sam.
In the event of an emergency, are you confident you have the right tools in place to keep your students and staff safe and avoid losing precious emergency response time? With Raptor Alert, a mobile panic button solution, emergency notifications to multiple first responder agencies are instantaneous and ensures real-time coordination. When you initiate an emergency, a customizable list of administrators, staff members, and first responders are immediately alerted with the touch of a mobile button, expediting response. For localized incidents, the Team Assist function allows customizable lists of scenarios, such as fights, spills, vandalism, or any situation that can be handled by your building staff or SRO. Raptor Alert provides users with real-time messaging capability to authorized users across all devices. It integrates with the Raptor suite of school safety solutions, ensuring full emergency accountability for every person on campus. The system is 100% aligned with the standard response protocol and can be configured to any protocol you use. Plus, it helps your district stay in compliance with Panic Alert recommendations and mandates. Raptor Alert from Raptor Technologies. Get help now. Visit us at raptortech.com/Raptor Alert and request a demo today.
Thanks, Sam. Now, it's
For
important to
anyone
note.
with dementia.
Interesting follow-up there. So one of the main things to understand is when you have a product that has the ability to do a whole host of different things, that doesn't mean you need to roll out a million things at once. One of the things that, is recommended both by Raptor and the implementation people, for something of this nature would be to start with, very specific goals and then to layer on other things as you go forward, because the more complex the system becomes, the more likelihood that there are issues with it. So the last thing that it had talked about, which was localized scenarios, that would not be something, at least to my knowledge, that we're looking to start, as part of this. It would be specifically to major level panic button type alerts. I'll hand it back to Dr. Avery for kind of clarification.
Yeah, I just really want to make sure that like, if there's, the system could be designed for a campus principal to interact with their staff on, again, like you said, fights and, spills or things that somebody needs to bring attention to. It is customized for the campus, but it also is customized to us as central office folks to be able to kind of make sure that we are aware of all major issues going on, across the district and at each individual campus. The other piece of that is that it can be linked to our Bridgeport Police Department as well, and the 911 system to bring in a quicker response once the training and the implementation piece is fully, vetted and trained throughout the district. So kind of work from there. Can you talk a little bit about the procurement side of this? What happened, who requested it, previous administration perspective, and how that came about? We've been using modules of the Raptor system for at least 2 years now, and we started the ID badge piece. We've kind of sunset that a little bit due to some concerns. But again,
part of it.
Yeah, and kind of can you talk a little bit just briefly about how all that kind of came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the system was originally, the process had started with when former superintendent was here. She had requested that we evaluate different solutions and look to purchase one, and see what one met our specific use case scenario. And so we have a very specific matrix of software and things that we support. So what we were looking for was one that essentially, dovetailed with things like PowerSchool and Office 365 and all of the other different types of hardware and things we have. So it was brought to Dr. Love David at the time. And then what we did is we acquired this software on state contracts through normal state contracts procurement. So it's not like another type of contract. It's COTS, customer on the shelf software. So essentially what that means is like any of the other contracts that we buy off of, we're buying a service for a defined period of time. So it's not like a new contract. We're invoking and purchasing off the shelf stuff, which we do all the time. And so the idea behind this is that, this software system was meant to do different needs. And so at the time, the superintendent had different needs that she had identified that she had wanted done. There were various different things within the suite. And so we deployed them based on leadership, at the time. And then that kind of evolved, as you can see, with people concerns, as it related to like the visitor system and stuff like that. So it's a very flexible product. It allows us to deploy based upon, what our particular use cases are. And I think the most important part is that they're very flexible with us. And if we have issues and stuff, we have the ability to kind of manipulate it. So anyways, I hope that answered the question. Okay.
Open up for questions from committee members first. Mr. Benson?
Yes. Oh, yes. This is coming from when? From the former?
From the former superintendent.
This was never approved or nothing like that, right?
Well, so this is purchased on contract, so it's not the same type of process because we're buying it as a commodity. In other words, so like we're buying it just like software off the shelf. So if it was, a thing where we put it out to bid as an example, that was something that we needed to do, then it would go through that process. But because this is just basically like buying boilerplate stuff, you know, we buy boilerplate stuff all the time. It's a scenario where, you know, if you look at the purchasing governance for this, you know, stuff that goes out to bid, stuff that are individual contracts that are awarded. This is under our master contract. This is under the one that we buy all of this type of stuff off of. And so that's the procurement. So, you know, that's in compliance with what we do.
So when you say it's coming from the contract purchase from the contract, so, how much it costs us?
I think for this particular module was like, this quote was maybe like 30, I think, something like that.
6,000?
Yeah. Yeah, but this was out of master grant. This was not out of operating.
Oh, this coming from a grant?
Yeah, yeah. So whenever you purchase it, so in other words, if, you know, if this goes forward past the time period you get it, this would have to be allocated to the budget, and then it would have to go to the board. But because this is a grant, and this is purchased as commodity, that's purchased as a surplus, and when it expires, it expires. So, if that's something the board doesn't choose to continue with, then the board doesn't choose to continue with it.
And this is coming for the staff, the teaching, and whatever's happened in school, they will, whatever, it's emergency, they will.
Yeah, think of it like, and they have different versions, right? They have, a lot of different vendors are out there. They have little badge things where you can hit buttons, they have phones. Think of it as the ubiquitous panic button. If something really bad happens, I'm gonna hit that button and I'm gonna do that. And I think the important part to understand is that when hopefully we go forward with this, I think there's public support. The main thing to remember is that people need to understand the gravity, right? When I hit this button, there's a consequence to it, right?
That's the part.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so that's, as we go forward with that type of stuff as a thing, I think you're going to see a lot of people that are going to feel a lot more comfortable about the fact that they know they have it. Because here's the thing, it's like the good old fashioned having to break glass in, right? You feel a lot better knowing that that big button is on the wall there to hit in the event of an emergency, right? We don't really have that. There are lots of schools out there that do. So this would be our version of that, right? And, you know, I think that done correctly and done well, I think it's a very positive thing. And, you know, again, like with all the ESSER stuff, if that doesn't choose to be funded by the board, that's your choice at that time, you know what I mean? And so, you know, it's one of those things where we're kind of in this moment where having a alert platform like this, I think is a good idea, you know.
Yeah, it's all about the safety security piece that's trying to, I mean, due to some of the incidents that we had, Tisdale with the weapon that was found, things that I think internally staff is looking for some things to really rely on what are we doing safety wise in our buildings. And so this is a way to share with the community that, you know, safety is important to this district, and we're wanting to make sure that, you know, do the right things and giving those opportunities for staff to feel that in the buildings.
Yeah, and then if I can intervene for a minute, the other thing, it has security groups. So what's good about that is whenever something goes on in the school, usually you find out about it on YouTube or somebody else tells you. Part of this is it could be set to alert central office also. Hey, there's a major fight going on in one of the high schools. And right away, when it's pressed, now everyone in central office knows that there's a serious problem at X, Y, and Z school. So we don't have to hear from someone else. We get notified and immediately we can, go out to that location and help support whatever's needed.
And if I may, the other thing that they had mentioned in the video, I think is really helpful too, is the compliance part, right? Because that helps, because now you have a log of these events occurring so that you can look at it and you can say, all right, so we have a log that shows that this event occurred, which meets that compliance marking. And that's never a bad thing, you know what I mean? Because it helps you to you know, not only know because the right people are getting the information, but also helps to support the school too.
I was not finished yet, my questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, the situation is gonna be a cell phone, it's gonna be like an attack for the staff.
Oh, I was just giving you an example. They have,
you know, I'm talking, and I'm just thinking, you have to be careful because child, a little child is can touch it.
Oh, they designed
They
it,
can-
yeah,
That's
gotcha.
my point, you know, so in my thing is second is gonna be the cell phone. How long that is gonna be if something happened in the school and for the classroom? How long that teacher's gonna open that phone to tag, you know, to be sure. But right now it's locked. At the time you take out your lock and everything, you lock your phone and everything, that's when, you know, when things.
Gotcha. So let me kind of hit that, hit the different points of that. So, number one, this is designed for K-12. Like, this is what they do. So, if the district did so decide to buy the badge version of it, because they have those, it's called the LoRa badge thing. They designed it so that if children were to passively hit it or do things to it, it's not gonna go off. It doesn't work like that. There's a, I believe it's the way that they click it or something. And I get to information. Yeah, there's like a thing that makes it so that doesn't happen. And then in terms of the phone, the way that the phone works is, the app is on the phone and it has push notification. It's like any other app you have where like, let's say you get CNN news or whatever you get on your phone, it's that. But what we can also do, and some districts have done, is put a little thingy on the bottom of their phone, whether it's Android or iPhone, and they click on it. Now, on our devices, I can control the deployment of how we push it out, and I can control that type of stuff. On personal devices, remember that that's just an additional, convenience that we can provide. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's, again, through Dr. Avery and the team, whatever specs I'm given, I can get that together. And, there's lots of options. So
And it's gonna be, I see you in the classroom, you press it, who's the person gonna notify that, superintendent will.
So this is the great part about that. It can be whatever we want it to be, right? So as an example, you don't want this to be every 5 minutes, somebody's hitting the button and then it's not helpful, right? That doesn't help anybody. You want this to be a thing where it's escalated the right way. So my answer to that is that we should look at that. If it was me, and I'm just, spitballing here, the idea would be that local building administration should be contacted immediately. If and when, it's approved, I can also have that directly dovetailed into our emergency response systems that we have. And then depending on how far we want to go, I can do so many different things. What's beautiful about the way this is set up is this is like top notch. But, it's one of these scenarios where we also have the opportunity to dip our toes in the water and try this, feel confident before we decide we want to do more. So whatever the plan is through all of you, that's what happens.
I know that safety is one of the big issues we have, and it's more important, it's priority for, the students, parents, and everyone. But then, it's something that the president, it's like just in case the teacher that is present, it was not emergency. It was something, can be fixed with the principal of the school.
Yes.
What's gonna be the consequence?
So I would say, that so to cancel notification, that feature set, you can obviously turn that on if that's the case, or maybe it goes to the principal and then the principal is the one that makes that decision. I don't have the answers for that because that's out of my realm of expertise and I wouldn't want to be the one that answers that. I would say, again, through Dr. Avery, our partnership with Bridgeport Police Department, Brooke, I don't know which title he has now.
Captain Greg.
Captain Greg, I know he's above captain or something. But police department, I think those are the types of decisions where, we can look at what scenarios work. What's really good is through Raptor and through them, there's so many other large urban school districts, multilingual places that have done this successfully and they know what they've already taken the hits and the bumps so that we don't have to, and we can talk with them. And that's one of the really good things because it's such a large community, especially when it's, people multilingual, they support that, right? So.
When there's emergency, there's a teacher present, this information go out to the parents? They're like, they know something happened in one of these holes.
So the answer to that is again, anything can be done. I would caution against, about doing that. Now, I can tell you this much. We have, as part of this, the reunification module, depending as we go forward in time, that is phenomenal. It's specifically designed to address the communication part with the parents, if they need to get their kids and a whole host of other things. But this is more about starting.
Not all the school, let's see specific with that school.
That's correct. So an example, there's an emergency that requires, God forbid, and I won't even use one of our schools because I don't want to jinx the Smith School, right? If that event occurs and the parents have to come get it up, it will actually do push notification to the parents and say that this event has happened. And it actually allows them to pick up their child, a sign for their child on the phone. It's called reunification. It's one of the most important parts. I mean, God forbid, if you thought of the different, incidents that occurred at schools, that gives the parents peace of mind. One, that not a random person comes and picks up their child because they have to sign for it, they have to validate it, all that stuff is there, because that dovetails into Power School and things of that nature. But again, I think that the most important part is to take this in the right pace and do it in a way we're comfortable. I don't think rushing ever works well. And so again, that would be directed through, the superintendent as well.
And if it's gonna be in the same emergency, in 3 schools at the same time, work? Well, they say the police department, you guys probably know what's gonna happen.
This does major districts way larger than us that, it scales from teen all the way up to the largest systems that are out there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think with the security groups and the advantage of what you can do, what you can't do, it allows you to be able to set up system in a manner that you want to. So I think Jeff was saying before, just to clarify that, if there is an incident or something going on, the security guards can be alerted immediately so that, hey, there's something in classroom, 102 that you have to get to immediately. Those are things that right now, if you look at response time, sometimes response time is they don't know. Now somebody's calling down to a principal, then from the principal goes ahead and gets a hold of them. But the response time with this is a lot quicker because it automatically, they all get it at that time where there's something going on, you gotta report to X, Y.
So if the teacher press that, so the security from the school that will receive that information.
It could be set up that way. In other words, whatever we decide, the way to decide to go, we can do it that way or as little as you want.
They have, there are districts that put strobes with this. There are districts that did, so it dovetails with our digital signage solution so that if that is something that we ever want to do, it will literally overtake the displays. Again, that's what's beautiful about this is that, you start off with a panic button, but then you scale up to meet those different things because it works with our milestone camera solution. It works with our door access control and can lock the doors in the building. You can do all these things, but that takes time. All automation always takes time, right? And so at a minimum, if you have a response group in the building, let's say right now, and I'm just making this up, person X is having a problem in the classroom and they call the main office and say, there's a problem, a kid needs to go right now, right? So that panic button, it helps them to move several steps ahead of making that phone call. Not to say that they still wouldn't make that phone call, but they hit that button, it's gonna make all the bells and whistles go off and let a whole host of people know. If it's medical in nature, right? It's gonna let the nurse's office know, those types of things. So what they recommend is that we build up our plan and we tweak it because it's a living thing, right? Like we decide that there's the medical response button, but what we're talking about again is major things right now. The lockdown, the shelter in place type things. And then we add what they call again, the local response stuff as time goes on. Because every school will be different, right? Harding would have a different way than maybe Bassett and things of that nature. Does that make sense?
So to be correct, so I'm getting a little confused what you said right now is let's say it's something wrong in the school, it's a panic, the teacher, but then you guys let everybody know, the police department, everyone in the security because they are the first respond, and they are doing an amazing job. But as a student, the behavior is not good.
So that's a different classification. Again, that was.
So they're not going to be the panic because the student is not behaving because I don't want.
No, and to be clear, it can do those things, but I think we should start with the big button issues and then work our way to the more specific use cases. Because what you don't want to do is, and this is the way I would look at this, you don't want to have them think that I hit this button and all my problems go away unless we're sure that we're ready for that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like there's a fight, I hit the button and then nobody comes to help with the fight. That's the worst. Like you don't want that type of scenario. So the idea is that we build those structures so that those things are thought of before we have people become dependent on. Does that make sense?
I've already listened to the other guys. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Woodson, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Ms. Estromera Jimenez?
Hi there. I have a few questions about the system. So, I've heard about it quite a bit and really excited to hopefully get this out to the schools just because I've heard from various teachers it would help increase safety in the schools and they've been pushing for it. So I have obviously we're going through a financial crisis at this point. You did mention that this software was purchased using grant funding in the past year or so. I had questions about the financials. So is there a subscription fee? You mentioned that there was that what was the other question I had about money? So I wanted to know if there was a subscription fee, and then you mentioned that we purchased, and then once the software expires, at that point we would have to reevaluate to see if we want it again. So two questions: is there a subscription fee, and then when does the software expire?
Okay, so to answer your question, think of it like this. The district committed a certain quantity of funds to the Raptor products, services, right? And so the amount of money that's in that commit is what we have the ability to spend services on. So when we had initially done this, when Dr. Levy David was here, there were certain identified things that we're going to use Raptor for. And so we had scaled it to make it so that when the purchase went, that we would be able to do that. So you can change those inside of there so that, let's say, for an example, you only want Raptor Alert. You don't want any other products. That means that the amount of time we have left on it goes out farther because you're spending that commit. But let's say we want the whole pass solution and we want Raptor Alert, right? So it's literally just that. It's just a fee that we pay for the service. And that's what makes this a commodity, right? Because at the end of the day, you're just paying for a piece of software to last a certain quantity of time. And depending on what software you use defines how long it goes for. So, I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me because I wasn't prepared for that particular question, but suffice it to say that we do have the ability to, change the different pieces of Raptor depending on what our needs are. And we do have more in there. And again, through Dr. Avery's office and what, the board would like to do, I can get that information if that's what you want.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me just, okay, I think you answered this question. So it goes back to what did we purchase? Did we purchase just the panic button, or did we purchase the entire scope of what Raptor can provide? But it sounds like we initially committed to a number of things, but we can scale back as necessary. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct. Yes, you can make this custom fit to what one of the nice parts about working with Raptor is because they're very used to and really quite frankly designed for the 12 school environments. They're used to this type of stuff where budgets change and aren't available. So we can say to them, we're only really interested in using Raptor Alert. How long, based on the amount of money we've committed, will that get us for Raptor Alert? And then we can decide, 3 months from now that we need to tack on Hall Pass for one school. We can do that. It's very flexible. And so far they've been very good to us. And what's nice is that depending on how the board wants to proceed, because again, this was purchased with grant money on COTS contracts. So that means that, once the commit is gone, then we have to look at that. And if that is going to be done, that would have to be determined. Is that going to come out of operating? Is that going to come out of a grant? And then we would have to make that same decision again. And that's through leadership and obviously, powers that be.
Very good. My last question is about the contract as a whole. So it sounded like, and this is my last question, I promise. It sounded like we go out to RFP or to competitive bid for a software company, and then once that software company wins, then we can purchase different software requirements that we might need for an extended period of time. Is that correct?
So let me explain this because this always confuses people and it's totally understandable. So there are multiple different ways that you can do acquisitions, but everything we do has to be in accordance with purchasing guidelines for both the city and the board and honestly the state of Connecticut itself. And so the point is that whatever vehicle we're purchasing on, so you had just described a moment ago the RFP process. So yes, that is a total way you can do that. We could say we decided that we want to go out to RFP. And so we identify the criteria for that RFP. And we say that, you know, everybody who wants to apply for that, Raptor, you know, any of the other ones that are out there. And then that comes back, we score the bid, we do that, and then we can award it, and we do that. And so that would be the RFP process of it. But for this particular software, because we bought this off of contract, so the contract vehicle already exists. And we use this contract vehicle like most large. So if you've ever heard of NASPO or DAS contract or TIPS or any of the consortium contracts, they do massive RFPs so that they get the best price. Think of it as Bridgeport, the city of Bridgeport or the Board of Education could do its own RFP, but because we're smaller, you know, we are big in Connecticut, but there are districts that are infinitely larger than us. By going together in large consortiums, they can get substantially better pricing than we could alone. So it's always typically very good to do that in consortium contracts, especially for things like software. But here's a perfect example of where it wouldn't normally be good, right? Is that in a local place, let's say you wanted to have somebody bid on doing a roof, right? That's something that would most likely be local. That would be in our area, and you can probably get different types of pricing. So that's kind of more advantageous to RFP rounds. So it depends. It depends on what you're trying to do. But typically for this type of thing, you want to have it on existing NASPO or other contract because you get really good pricing. Some cases, like pricing, we couldn't even come close to touching otherwise. So
Gotcha. That is very well explained, and I understood it. So thank you for breaking it down for me. So is that contract consortium is it managed by the state? Is it federal?
That's an excellent question. It's actually, there are multiple. So this one was purchased off of state contracts. And so it depends. So as an example, one of the greatest ones of all time is NASPO. NASPO is one of our best contracts. The buying power in NASPO is tremendous. We get, so this is most of the United States municipalities, state governmental organizations, and other ones. That one has tremendous buying power because what they do is they go out and they say, okay, we want to have a price for thing X. And then they will say, what are the best prices? Now, sometimes it can be what's known as a multiple award, where more than one vendor can win an award. Now, in a scenario like software where vendors vary, it depends. But the long and the short of it is that there are different types of consortiums for different types of purposes. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much.
No problem.
That concludes all my questions. Thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Schraber?
Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to Denzel Washington and Tom Hanks and talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. We have a $30,000 contract. And
so this isn't a contract. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it fluctuates as to how long it's gonna last because it depends on how much of it we use at any one period of time. And so if we only use it for the purpose of the panic button, it'll last longer. I got that. I heard other uses in it, but we weren't discussing those tonight. We're discussing primarily the panic button aspect of it. If we only use it for that purpose, about how long do we have left on that contract?
So again, it's not a contract in the same sense, it's a spend. So unfortunately, the whole
About
universe
how
is
long
a
do we
sure.
have in that account?
So right now, the Raptor product for Alert would end it this year if we stayed licensed for all of the things that we're licensed for. If we were to change any one module of that, that would change the spend, and then, Raptor Alert could go longer. It depends. And again, I apologize. I wasn't prepared to answer those questions because I didn't know we were doing the finance. Otherwise, I would have prepared for that. But the point is that I can find out, and then if you want to, move around the spend, then you
So
can.
Jeff, if I understood your question there, your answer there,
Mhm.
we are able to use Raptor for more than just the panic button right now.
That's correct. And there was the
And we're not using it for more. What are we using it for anything right now?
So there are the pilot things that we're currently working on, which I would refer back to Dr. Avery to answer that. But I would say that there are other things that you want to take that.
You're talking about we had the badge system that we were using it for. We paused that a little bit after the safety meeting that we had. So if we don't continue with that, we could probably take the funding from that and extend the alert system out a little bit further.
The what system, Dr. Avery?
The visitors.
The badge system.
Yeah, the badging.
I'm sorry,
badging.
I just didn't understand you, that's all.
Yeah, that was the first initial,
Right.
activity or module that we used in the district, but there were some issues with.
That's been halted.
Yeah, parent identification cards and ID badges. So we paused that. So if we shift from there, we could extend the longevity of the alert system. Yeah, over time. There's also a pilot of the pass system where we talked about where when kids leave the classroom, it doesn't automatically. The teacher can punch the student's name. The student leaves the classroom. When the student comes back, you can punch it again. And so there's other different things we can use for technology purposes to extend the life of it. But we're going to get to a point where we're not going to have additional funds to use, and then we're going to have to come back to the board for considerations for extending whatever.
Well, the hall pass system is intriguing, given the discussion we just had about vandalism and bathroom access. But certainly all that it becomes moot in light of our budget discussions and our fiscal concerns. Right now, I think it's wise to focus primarily on the panic button concern. And so the question would be, how long can it be the current expenditure that's been made? And I assume that expenditure is locked in and there's nothing, it's not like if we cut it off today, we could save any money. So the money's spent. And the question is, how long can it stretch out for? And how much security can we provide to staff if we had this panic button provided citywide to the staff? And that's really, I think, the only question that I have is, what do we got? What do we have available if this panic button, if we expanded this program citywide, how long are we able to provide that security to the staff, that sense of security to the staff using this program? And then when we resolve our financial concerns later this year, we can explore any other questions with regard to Raptor. I guess so. And you're saying, Jeff, you don't know the answer to that tonight, so.
I do not know. I would be able to work with Dr. Avery on that for you.
Just call it.
So.
Sorry.
I guess that's all. That's the answer to the question I'd want to know is how long, what kind of use can we get out of this? But that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Medina?
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. And I apologize if some of the questions might sound repetitive, and I'm gonna try to go as slow, but also as quick, but I would like to have, respect as I have the floor. Um, you mentioned some words, Mr. Jeff. So the first one will be, um, we committed some money to Raptor. What is the money or the contract that has been committed to this Raptor program?
So the way that it's done is we identify products that we want. And then what we do is that's purchased under existing contracts. So it's not a new contract. We are buying off of existing contract. And so again, the spend was broken down based on what Dr. Lovey David wanted for the commit for Raptor. And so basically, at the time, there was a different type of hall pass or whatever the things were at the time. And so those were the things that were selected. And then, you know, again, if we decide to change which particular things we use, we would say, hey, you know, Raptor, we want to change, you know, these allocations and we want to get this instead. So, you know,
So I'm gonna
don't
break the question up once again, if you wouldn't mind. I don't mean to to cut you off, but I want to make sure.
Sure.
I'm looking for a number. How much money has been committed to this Raptor? Because you're going to touch on another question, and I want to have that question completely separate.
Yeah.
How much money was committed under contract or whatever you want to say? Maybe Avery can answer this or somebody. How much money? Because you used the word. So money was committed to this Raptor. So we need to basically, the way I interpret that is that we got to use it or lose it.
30,000.
Okay, so that's what it is. I just want to make sure because there's other statements that I got to make sure say. So it's 30K that's been thing. And when was that done? What date or year was that?
Again, I wasn't prepared to provide that information right now because I was only doing a product info. I can certainly provide any of that information through Dr. Avery to the board, no problem.
Thank you. Or to this committee, which is just going to be one of my recommendations. And so next question, if you wouldn't mind. What are the licenses that we have right now with Raptor?
The ones that are in place, we have Raptor Alert, reunification as part of Raptor Alert EMS, which is the module, they go together. There is the visitor safe system, which was for that thing. And then there are some schools that are currently using the hall pass solution. Interestingly enough, which is kind of unusual, SmartPass, which was the vendor that when we were doing evals of the product ended up getting acquired by Raptor. So it is now Raptor. So at the time, when the schools that had wanted it, purchased it, they became Raptor customers. So that would be the other one. That makes sense?
Okay.
That sounds
So
great.
that I think you named 4 as I was taking the list: the alert, the unification, EMS, visitors, and hall pass or smart pass. Now I guess.
SmartPass, yeah. Yep.
So that's 4. Thank you very much. My next one is how much has been spent on Raptor so far?
Mr. Media, that question was asked. He's gonna get that information for us.
Yeah, I would rather not guess. I'd
Okay.
rather give you the right information.
I thought it was a different question, but I respect his answer and yours, Madam Chair. Thank you. Now, I want what are the other districts that are using this system? Because I know you mentioned something about it before a little bit. Is there any district around us that is using this system fully at all?
Absolutely, yeah. Raptor is used all over the place. Not only just our general northeastern area, but either our large like Arlington Public Schools, which is way big. They like when we were initially looking at this, they looked at Arlington Public Schools because it met similar demographic keynotes to ours, and that was one. But in Connecticut, there's multiple different ones that have it. If you want, I can get that information from the vendor so that you have one so you can talk to. No problem.
That sounds good. I would love to have that for all of us, especially at this committee level. And you said Arlington. Where's Arlington at?
Virginia, Arlington, Virginia.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'd
It has
rather
a
ask the
very
question
large.
than,
Oh, I'm
than
sorry.
assume. I'd rather ask the question than assume what state that was.
Yeah, one of the things that I identified is that since we have a large Hispanic, and Spanish, speaking population, it was very important to have not only multilingual support, but have the ability to dovetail in to make sure that we support all of our learners and the different people there, including Portuguese and various other different languages. But when looking at that, since they had a lot of similar concerns to what Bridgeport had, they went through this, in a substantial way to make sure that those things were met. So,
Thank you. My last more statement than a question, and I would like to make a plea out to the committee, to all the committee members that are voting this to move it possibly forward to the full board, to maybe take in consideration. I don't want to have a Pandora box be opened before the full board when we don't have a lot of these questions answered. And I'll give you guys all an example. Me as a president and a vice president of a union up in our transit company, we talk about hardware. So we haven't talked about how much hardware have we purchased. We only talk about these programs. So there's hardware involved in this, guys. And then every software has also a cost. So and then also equipment. So hardware is hardware, but equipment is another one. So we want to make sure that we get all these answers before we try to move this, I believe, before you guys push it over to the full board.
Just to
That way
clarify,
you
we're
guys-
not actually taking any action tonight. The
sorry?
purchase is made already. We're not taking any action.
Oh, I thought it was going to be moved to the full
No.
board. I kept on hearing that multiple
No.
times, and people say, "No, I'm saying I'm saying my truth." I heard a
Yeah.
few times about the
I
board
know,
making
I'm just
decisions. and
clarifying
moving-
it so we don't keep going. We're not moving it to full board. It's already a purchase item.
Well, I would
the-
also like to see this contract that we're committed to this money and these funds. I would like to see it presented to the full board, to all of us, for us to read. This is one that's very,
It's not a contract. It was not a contract.
if not a contract, then we can just, I'm being told either we spent this money or we lose it, or what is it then we have then? Because I heard the word
It's
commitment
already
and I heard,
done. It's already spent. There's no contract involved. It was a.
it's
specific
already
word.
spent.
yeah, they commit. You
It's
committed.
it's been already committed and there's.
So committed means there's contract, there's money. So I don't know how much we,
Up in the bits, because I have a series of questions on them.
All right, we're gonna move on because I think we answered the questions that you're asking. It's been committed. There's no contract involved with this. The money's already been used.
With the vendor.
The vendor has it. Check's been cashed. Do you have further questions? And then I'm going to Mr. Sokolovic.
nope.
And
Thank you,
Mr.
Madam Chair.
Sokolovic.
I've got a series of questions. I want everybody to speak like they respect me, like I'm not an idiot. Did we have a commitment with Raptor prior to 2022? Purchase anything?
22, is that?
Almost Carmel.
Right, so the answer is no, we did not have a commitment prior to 2022. We entered into a purchase commitment. Meeting of the minds to purchase a certain amount of software. We committed to purchase something that we've never committed to before. Therefore, with the meeting of the minds, creating a new relationship, no matter what contract we are utilizing to do it, we entered into a commitment or a contract under law. To call it a purchase order, we entered into a commitment that was binding to spend a certain amount of money with these people.
So the purchase order is issued to the vendor under contract and the reseller. So what happens is this vendor is a value-added reseller, which is, it's like perfect example, Best Buy, right? So if our relationship is established, and I'm just making this up, Best Buy, right? You're going to Best Buy and they're selling you an Apple product, or selling an HP products, right? Because they are the value-added reseller. So the purchase is with the VAR. It is not with Raptor. It's off the shelf. Like I can drive to Best Buy and I can go to the shelf and I can pick up Intuit, TurboTax, right?
So we're not writing any checks to Rocky.
You're not. That is the point, is that this is purchased under contract. It is a VAR. That is what makes that. So think of it this way. The idea behind it is that we've decided to get this product to fulfill a purpose that's an operational goal. Again, I'm not the one behind that. The point is that that was what was decided. So, like any, thing like that, you're making the decision to get that, and that's what happens in terms of how that goes forward. That occurred during the prior superintendent.
So what would happen if, say, we committed to $30,000 and we decided, hey, let's just spend 10.
So
There's
again,
no recourse for the firm if we just spend 10 and say forget about the rest of the 20 we committed to?
no, because the thing is that you're paying for that upfront. So like all of those different contracts that you're talking about, the other types, those are ones where you're paying over a sustained period of time. And example, like if you were to buy academic piece of software, right? And they bill you every so often, that is where you've, speaking of HMH, you are saying, I'm gonna pay this amount, and then they invoice, right? This doesn't work that way. You are saying, I'm buying this one thing, and then the commitment was occurred at that time. You have the ability to use that during that time period.
And when does this commitment end?
Just when the funds are spent. So if you decide you want to use all of the funds to do Raptor Alert and then on none of the other things, then the way it works is the VAR will say, okay, then that means that you've extended the time frame to whenever that ends.
And as far as what's the balance left?
I can find the number. I don't know if
That's the $30,000 for this one module, correct?
yeah. So again, that's.
And then other modules have other money is attached.
That's right. Yeah, they just have different spend. Right? And unfortunately, the whole industry has really moved to software as a service. It's the way of the world we've all seen. You know what I mean? So the thing is that we're going to see this more and more as we go forward in time with everything we do. Is that we're going to have to buy the reason they use that term is that was invented by Amazon. You know what I mean? Like committed. So yeah, it's the way reality is now.
Right. For further clarity, I would like to request all paperwork surrounding the Raptor Technologies as far as purchase orders, pending agreements with the consortium or whatever it is.
That's what
Then, yeah, I think for anything we're buying and spending or making a purchasing decision on, we need this information. Because there's now we can go into a lot more questions. Once I get that, I could have my mind wrapped around this because it still sounds like a contract to me. I'm still not totally there yet. I'm not, but I'll reserve judgment until I see all of them. I'm sure we can. No disrespect, but we fiduciary duties. Now, I would like to bring this. Specific alerts. Don't we already have system monitoring of our schools with the EPD as well already?
I don't think I'm qualified to answer that question.
I mean, I'm not looking for specific security protocols.
I'm not aware of anything that you just presented.
All our buildings have cameras, correct? That's connected to a central place where there's that we're paying 24 hours to basically look at cameras in our school buildings.
I'm not aware of that.
You mean outside you mean the Bridgeport Public,
Police Department.
not the public school?
Right, there's like, you walk outside this building, this room right here, there's a camera. There's a camera in front of your office. And you got cameras in our schools. And people are paid. We pay one employee to sit there and watch the cameras. It's smart.
But the Fusion Center?
Fusion
Yeah,
Center.
thank you.
The school district not paying it though, let's clarify.
No, we've got one employee that.
Oh, the school, the Bridgeport Public Schools?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get clarity. I didn't know what you're saying.
So they're already monitored. It's not like we're leaving people out there naked. And this one page is a little bit misleading.
Can I clarify? I just want to clarify. You're talking about like in the middle, like throughout the day. So they're being watched, like all the schools are being watched throughout the day. One person sitting there.
And somebody on those cameras 24 hours.
Somebody-
I'm not sure if they're monitoring the schools when they close.
39 schools throughout the day or 30.
Yeah, the fusion center got all.
The one person's monitoring.
And of course, it's not
Camera.
but I'm not gonna get too
Go ahead.
far deep into the weeds of that, but. Again, this is a little bit misleading, even in the video, is help us comply with the law. This is not a law in Connecticut. This is a law in Texas, a couple of states, I forget what the map was saying.
I think it was referring to incident notification, so
Yeah.
they have you legally to require to do that, so.
For this law, I think if we're right here, it helps us comply with Alyssa's law. Alyssa's law is not the law of Connecticut. It's not even the law in half the states in the United States. So we're not trying to comply with some law that's not on the books in Connecticut yet.
Yeah, I think that because again, that's promotional material that you're looking at. I think they probably have to make it for promotional purposes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a further concern is once it's in there, again, talking about other modules and expanding upon it. It's just really, really concerning. We've got the other modules, you're gonna find out the cost for us. Didn't ask for that, but. Yes, since there's no vote on that. Stop here until I get the further information to make the decision. Just know that there's a petition at Fairchild Wheeler against one of our Raptors products. And there's 600 and change petitions. Like I said, I found out by snooping.
Can I ask a question?
You want to share?
No, no.
I found that.
Because you're saying that you want to, not do the other modules, just do the security, the panic, not you, but.
To be clear, I don't want to do anything.
I'm sorry, you're just saying, sorry, that should be.
Right, I think it's important, I mean, that we have some type of support for campuses, guys, and with everything alerting security wise, if something happens, we just need to make sure that we have an opportunity to provide staff with another option. You know, and so that's what this is all about. I understand everything about, you know, the funding pieces and all that. I think it's important moving forward that, you know, our staff need to understand that security is important to us. You know, to me as a superintendent, I was questioned on the stage about what are you going to do to support security for teachers and students in buildings. And I couldn't really even go there because I did not have this as an option for me. So again, I get it, and I respect that. I mean, I respect the questioning that we have. I really, truly do. You know, I was a deputy when this all came about. You know, when she, you know, visit when Jeff was on the leadership team about we need options. We need options for badging, all those things, and work through some of those things. I had several conversations with IT regarding what we can and can't do, all those things. So I respectfully understand that, you know, but again, I just want you to make sure that we have a product that we can use, that we can get in front of our staff to keep it moving. And if we have to pause things because we don't have the funding, that's what we'll do, you know. But again, it's an opportunity that we can do to keep our staff feeling and knowing that they're safe.
So final question. This money is expended already out of ESSER and you're not asking us to tap into operations?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. You know, I mean, remember, ESSER's gone, the money's gone. And so we have an opportunity to use the product for as long as we feel the need. And then we can get feedback from our staff about the effectiveness of it and how they feel about it. And then you can decide on if we want to regroup as a board, as a superintendent, to make sure moving forward, you know, what we can and cannot do. That's really where we are right now.
I'm gonna go to the committee members and then go around for the second round of questionings. So I'm, Mr. Woodson.
So a question for Dr. Avery. This money didn't come from a grant. It came from ESSER funds.
ESSER is a grant, but yes, sir, it came from the ESSER funding. When we had, you know, a surplus of that a year or so ago. We purchased it. We purchased the product as a module. We didn't use it during that time. Now we're looking to use it so we can extend the life of using this particular alert system module. Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's no option to take away the money or anything like that, right? The money's already
And
spent.
you are correct.
Okay.
Either we're gonna use it or lose it
Yeah,
at this point.
I mean, I notice, anytime somebody mentions, Carmela Levy-David's name, I know the people go into like a frenzy over there. But she did do good things for the district. I just want some people to know that. I mean, he stepped out of the room. I wish he would have heard it, but hopefully, he understands that, everything that lady did wasn't bad for the district.
It was really trying to make sure that we do a forward thinking about access to buildings, safety in buildings. And so that should be a staple for everything we do moving forward. It's the safety and security of our students and staff, for sure.
Yeah, something that it didn't have on the previous 6 years that he was on the board that we have now, but now it's a problem, I guess. Okay, thank you.
All right, we're gonna try not to engage with each other's eyes here. So, Mr. Bennigan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was just one question and one comment. I know this is not part of you can tell me yes and no, we don't need to talk about it. It's not part of the talent, the one is in front of the school, nothing, okay, something different.
It's completely
Different, okay, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'm ready to talk after this. And also, just for the record, because I know Mr. Medina said something like this, I know in an agenda, they talk about discussion and possible action of the full board after the ratifying system, but we don't know until now, was purchased, it was done, so I just want to be sure for the record, it's not going to the full board because they really purchased this, back, with the former theater and everything, so to be sure, clarify for that, I don't want people to be confused.
That
Alright?
is true. Yes, sir.
Thank you, no more questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yes, when I wrote the agenda, I didn't realize it was already up
Yeah.
this time.
That's fine, just waiting for the record, everybody be on the same
So,
page.
Mrs. Mary Menace.
So I have a comment and then I also have some teacher testimonials that I want to read. Kind of emphasizing the need of this, but I did want to step back really quickly and talk about the Fusion Center. The Fusion Center, I had the opportunity of seeing it, and it was purchased in 2018 using federal grants, and it's completely different than what we're trying to do tonight. The Fusion Center looks at cameras outside in the streets. They are not cameras within the school system. So just want to make that super clear. It's really to help deter crime. It's nothing to do with the schools. You might have some positioned outside of the schools, but there's no safety mechanism associated with them within the schools. And if you have any doubt on that, you can just Google Connecticut Post Fusion Center. The article comes right up from 2018. So I just wanted to, I had a number of teachers come to me, really trying to emphasize the importance of this. So if I may, Madam Chair, I'll read it. It's a little bit lengthy. I'll try to make it as quick as possible.
Is it as long as Free Booker's filibuster?
No.
Go ahead, and you can go.
No. 2 minutes.
You can go.
Okay, we live in a world where school tragedies have become commonplace. Often they are not even reported on a national level. We no longer hear about these events because they happen so frequently that as a society, we have essentially become immune to them. We no longer mourn the lives of children and school personnel because we have grown used to it. Even within our own district, we are not informed when students bring guns to school. We find out from news articles and word of mouth. We know that this is reality. We know that teachers may one day be faced with the task of saving a classroom full of children's lives. We also know that technology exists that might protect us and quite literally save lives. Yet we don't have this technology. The ultimate solution to saving lives is simply that people intending to do harm never enter our school buildings. However, Bridgeport schools do nothing to prevent this. We do not have sets of double doors in which both are locked. We do not ask anyone to show ID prior to entry. We do not monitor people walking throughout the building. If anyone tells you this is the case, they are simply unaware of what is happening within the building, which is a scary thought in itself. Simply put, school safety should be of the utmost importance. It is truly disheartening that teachers and parents have to fight for anything that might protect us and save lives in the event of an unthinkable tragedy. Perhaps we cannot change the doors on the school or hire additional security to better monitor the schools, but we can implement that Raptor system. It is unthinkable that our district has access to this and is simply choosing not to use it. Simply choosing the risk to risk the lives of staff and student on a daily basis. What tragedy is it going to take for those able to provide this technology to do so? I cannot imagine being in a position to potentially save lives and turning a blind eye. Please remember that these school shootings are very real. Please don't fall into the immunity that has overtaken our country. Please do the right thing. And then I have two other small little paragraphs. They read, I am a teacher and a parent in this district. I have heard that school shootings do not happen here. However, that doesn't mean that they can't. There could be outside people with bad intentions. We see it all the time across this country. You are taking away our guidance counselors, which are there for student mental health, and teachers are left feeling vulnerable walking into work each day with no protection in a world where school shootings have become a norm. I have taken the time to research this technology, and it is very comprehensive and can save lives. This should not be a debate. If teachers are asking for something to help them in emergency situations, the board and the superintendent should be there to make that happen for us. And then the last paragraph reads, I am a teacher in Bridgeport. I have two cousins who work in Norwalk Public Schools. They have used the Raptor emergency response application for years, and it has been very successful. Their teachers were trained and there have been zero issues with misuse. Bridgeport teachers deserve the same technology so we can keep our students and fellow staff as safe as possible. We do not want to say we should have done something when it's already too late. Thank you.
Thank you. Medina, Ms. Medina?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. Once again, I just wanted to add that just want to be for clarity, for point of clarification, that and I would be welcome Miss Maritza to come with me and I could show her. So I want to make it clear to the public and to all the board members, and I talk with you, not at you, that clearly I know for a fact, and again, I'll invite her to go to the Fusion Center. Cameras are clearly inside the school also. So I want to make sure everybody knows that for a fact. Cameras in the Fusion Center are inside the school. It's not only outside. And they were bought back in those times that she had mentioned, and it does belong to the property or the Board of Education. So clearly they are inside the school. They're there to protect and to be used. And also, I just wanted to know, I lost my other question. I apologize. But I just want to make that statement real quick that it is cameras are inside the school. And I would like to know from Mr. Avery, if possible, knowing that we got to use Dr. Avery, excuse me, knowing that we got to use these funds, I would like to hear the plan of what is the best utilization of this fund moving forward, or maybe maybe plan A or plan B. That way we can work together with the board once the committee has that plan or an option of plan on how to move forward to spend this money to make sure that we use it and not lose it. Because I understand that word lose it and use it or lose it do we have a time frame as far as when this money has to be used by?
I don't think there's a time frame, Mrs. Medina, but I think it's just, I don't have a problem being able to provide a little overview of what we can do and give the board a little synopsis of that. So I'll be glad to be able to do that, but I don't have that, tonight. But we're glad to kind of, when we give you.
It's the burn rate, it's how fast you burn.
Right, so again, we can give you a little bit of that, but maybe not specifically a timeline of when it's gonna be, used
No,
up.
like you guys mentioned earlier about, if we use this or we use that, we can expand the time frame and all that. Just maybe a plan or two or even three, whatever you guys want to show this committee, that way they can move it to the full board. And then another question and suggestion is that maybe to have if there is a campus that has access to all these different ones that we have, then maybe we can have the board and or the committee maybe go and visit and do a drill and everything with the system to see how it works and all that stuff, and see how we can it could be utilized and how the thing, but also to maybe have after that presentation, let's say if you order that campus, then maybe have thought exchange, come up with a survey and survey, the campuses overall, and to get an idea that way we can help direct the board on where they maybe see fit to use this program to maybe have it. If we have to spend it, we got to spend it. So now let's figure out what's the long-term goal to see if we can get something like this, whatever area, whatever program I heard for them, that we can use, and they, have it for maybe the next 2 years to see. But just an idea, food for thought. Thank you.
I can probably get a demo done for the board, so you guys can have hands-on, experience with using the alert system. So we can kind of work something that as well. So either we can do it, just as a standalone training. I can get with Danielle and give you a time when you guys can come in and do that little demo. So you'll have access to it.
It would have to, so when they come and demo it, as you remember, when we did it at Black Rock, they do have to have it at one time, because they actually bring phones and they give it and actually run real emergency and all that stuff. So you have to be at one place, maybe.
Yeah, that's a minute.
Oh,
They can come here to do it, and we can have, we can set a date where they can all come here for a demo, and we can set it up here in this room, and they can all come to experience it and kind of work from there.
Exactly.
Thank you for that, son.
Mr. Traber?
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is getting lost in the weeds. There is one aspect of this program that we are talking about, not 4, not 3. One aspect, which is the alert button, the panic button. We're not talking about the hall pass. We're not talking about the visitor pass. We're talking about the alert button. And that is the only question we want to know, and that we asked for a half hour ago, is how long can we stretch this out if we apply this program to all the schools? So that's really the question that I want to I don't want us to get lost in the weeds with all these other discussions. The question is, how long with what we have left of this program, if we just implement citywide the panic button in all the schools, how long can we get out of that? That's what I thought we decided a half hour ago, was we need to know how long can we get out of that.
Yes.
The rest, we're not doing the other programs. We're not doing the hall pass. We're not doing the visitor pass. Those were set aside. So how long do we have left before we have to think about whether we spend any new money with the money that's been spent already, whether we like the fact that it was spent or not, whether we like how it was spent or not? It's been spent, and that's just all we want to know, that we don't know tonight. So that's what we're focused on. That addresses Ms. Estremera Jimenez's question that the teachers want to know. How can we do that, and how long will it last for us? And that would seem to me to tell us, do we want to do that this year, or do we want to wait and start it in the fall? But is it months or is it a year? Period. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I'm gonna just request that, Dr. Avery's team, get that information to us, whether it's via email, when you agree to get that together, that finance piece, on how long it'll last.
Oh,
Dr. Avery will, coordinate
Yeah,
for us,
absolutely.
so that we can answer that question. That was the question that you.
Thank you.
You're absolutely right with your statements. So, seeing no further question, I know Mr. Woodson had his hand up, but it's down now, so seeing no further questions. Thank you for, presenting on that. Going to, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Benningham. I'll second it. All in favor says aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we're ending at 9:43. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone. God bless you all.
I scheduled.
It'll be done.
I said.